Part 2. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 11. As soon as I rushed into the jungle of underground plants, there was a red light flashing in the distance. It was obvious that someone had suffered a fatal attack and had decided to withdraw from the competition B/U003E. Although the person present is basically at the 6th level of the physical training realm, there will be differences in psychological quality, actual combat experience, and martial arts mastery. Some people quit, and some people move forward at high speed. When 300 servants rushed into the jungle, the sound of killing broke out in an instant. Wu Yu could only see a few people fighting around him. Here we go. Wu Yu held the fine steel sword in his hand. The weapon made of fine steel was very sharp, but obviously the scales and flesh of this red-horned snake were also very tough, almost like a demon. Bite. When the red horn like a stabbing sword stabbed with the power of a giant beast, Wu Yu held the long sword with both hands and suddenly swept it across. Open. He wanted to push the giant snake away and move on. Unexpectedly, this giant snake has at least the strength of 100 war horses, which is similar to Wu Yu. Tear. Wu Yu moved quickly and pushed the snake's head away slightly. He handed the sword to his right hand and slashed deeply into the red-horned snake's neck. The snake's blood suddenly spurted out and poured out. Hiss. The giant snake screamed in pain, but it was not dead at all. Wu Yu's sword was stuck in its bones. Hit the snake 7 inches. Thinking of this, before the giant snake resisted, Wu Yu drew out the stainless steel sword with great force. The stainless steel sword shone with cold light in the darkness. Under Wu Yu's swing, it stabbed into the red-horned snake with a pop heart. The red-horned viper fell limply to the ground. What a pity! This giant beast has grown so big, its scales, flesh and blood, snake gallbladder, etc. are all precious materials, but these are the properties of the Tongtian sword sect, and there is no time to collect them at this time. Wu Yu held the blood-stained sword, passed by many servants who were trembling with the red-horned snake, and reached the front of the team. In fact, many people also solved the red-horned viper, but they did not advance rashly. If they advance alone, they may be besieged by new beasts. You were very relaxed just now. Suddenly someone next to him spoke to him. Looking carefully, the person in the darkness should be Zhao Danlong, one of the 7th levels of the body forging realm. However, today's number 1 is definitely me. The qi condensing pill is mine. The young man burst out with astonishing speed and rushed into the darkness ahead. Zhao Danlong, so fast. He'll probably be the first to go out. No, Qing Mang has long disappeared. In the fierce fighting, some people quit from time to time, and some people continued to move forward after solving their opponents, and they were also discussing at the same time. Be the first to go out. Wu Yu imagined that all the spectators were outside, and the first person to pass through the immortal road would indeed attract much attention. His previous goal was to be among the top 100, but now he wanted Sun Wuodao to be the first person he saw in great anticipation. Walk. In the dark night, he moved forward at high speed like a golden light. The ape's ghost steps are most suitable for advancing in this kind of jungle. Wu Yu even avoided a few red-horned snakes. After some calculations, he was definitely at the front of the team. Stay here for now. If you go any further, you will definitely encounter a head-on blow from the next wave of attacks. There are about 20 people around, and 3 of them are particularly dazzling. Each of them can fight several other handy men, and each of them is at the 7th level of the body forging realm. I'm 15 years old, and I'm only at the 4th level of the physical training realm. In terms of talent, I'm far behind them. Wu Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly. Of course, he won't be discouraged. Because his real cultivation lasted only 1 month. Swamp. After passing through the underground plant jungle, I instantly entered the next realm. In front of me was an endless swamp. The swamp soil was extremely soft. There were obviously countless ferocious beasts hidden underneath, and turbid bubbles kept rising. Ah! At this moment, a handyman disciple rushed in. Suddenly, the swamp shook, and a huge black beast with a length of 3 feet rushed out and bit the handyman disciple, its sharp teeth piercing deeply into the flesh. And drag it into the mire. Help me! The handyman disciple screamed. In such a panic, I might have even forgotten to crush the red fire talisman when I encountered such a surprise attack. Wu Yu was right next to him, rescuing people like putting out fires. At this time, he didn't care too much and rushed forward. It turned out to be the giant crocodile of Axe Mountain. He recognized this giant beast covered in black scales. When he was at the 5th level of martial arts, he fought with this Axe Mountain giant crocodile, but he was still no match for this Axe Mountain giant crocodile. The giant Axe Mountain crocodile is covered in scales like iron and is invulnerable to swords. Only its eyes are its weak point. Because he was familiar with it, this idea flashed through Wu Yu's mind. Without saying a word, he ducked in front of the giant crocodile in Axe Mountain and used all his strength to pierce the stainless steel sword. Poof! The long sword pierced the brain. The giant crocodile in Axe Mountain was killed instantly. Wu Yu was very calm and pulled the injured handyman out of the huge mouth of the Axe Mountain crocodile. It turned out to be a pretty girl, but now her face was pale with fright, and she looked at Wu Yu shivering. Let's go first. Wu Yu didn't say much. Time was running out. He entered the swamp in the blink of an eye and walked on the swamp with ape's ghost steps, controlling himself not to fall into the quagmire. A disciple of the Immortal sect in black appeared next to the girl. Seeing that the girl was safe and sound, he looked at Wu Yu's retreating back, and then said to the girl, "Next time there is a crisis, crush the red fire talisman quickly." "Yes. Immortal." "Thank you." After the Immortal left, the girl looked at the direction Wu Yu left and thanked her secretly in her heart. The relationship between the handymen was originally a competition. This person would waste time to save herself, which is very commendable. Along the way, Wu Yu relied on his strength, which was even greater than that of the Axe Mountain crocodile, to kill several ferocious beasts again. Generally speaking, beasts are powerful, but their fighting skills are not as sophisticated as those of immortals and humans. Therefore, when Wu Yu's strength is greater than that of his opponent, it is not difficult to crush him. There are several figures ahead. Finally out of the swamp. Wu Yu felt a sense of relief when he put his feet on the ground, but he knew very well that in front of him was an endless pile of rocks. Obviously the most terrifying test was here. There were 3 waves of beasts, and this was the last wave. "Kill!" Zhao Danlong roared and disappeared into the darkness. Other handyman disciples were gradually chasing after them. It seemed that they were not weak. After all, they were all talented people and had been trained by the Tongtian sword sect. Wu Yu quickened his pace. Bloodthirsty demonic ape. Surrounded by boulders, there is a narrow path in front of it. The path passes through a passage. At the end of the passage is the exit of Tongxian Road. It is the place that all handymen dream of. However, this narrow path was crowded with more than 300 bloodthirsty demon apes. This is a black ape with several blood-red lines on its body. Its eyes are also red. It is 2 feet tall. Wu Yu and the others are not as thick as this bloodthirsty demon ape. It is said that this bloodthirsty demon ape loves blood. The smell of blood will drive you crazy. There was a lot of blood smell coming from the swamp. Therefore, now, all the bloodthirsty demon apes have red eyes, and they are violently beating themselves, the road, and the rocks next to them with their huge fists. For a moment, the evil energy gathered into the sky, blocking the last way out for all the handyman disciples. Only by fighting your way out of the pile of bloodthirsty demon apes can you pass. This time, the beasts are so dense that it is impossible for anyone to be able to ride them all. Kill! The more than 20 people who were able to rush out of the swamp first were mostly elites. Led by the 3 people at the 7th level of the body forging realm, the more than 20 people gathered into one force and charged forward bravely. New forces will continue to join from behind. Wu Yu was mixed in with the team. Boom! Directly collide with the bloodthirsty demon ape. Tear! The fine steel sword slashed the body of the bloodthirsty demon ape, but it only tore a gash. Roar! The bloodthirsty demon ape was furious and slapped someone else, who would have been slapped away. Wu Yu's expression remained unchanged and he arched his left arm to resist. With a bang, the ground sunk in. So strong. Although he was feeling emotional, Wu Yu was actually even more surprised, because he tested and found that his indestructible body's resistance to attacks was at least several times stronger than that of ordinary people. And also has greater resilience. His strength, resistance, and resilience were all several times higher than those of ordinary people. Whoosh! Wu Yu used all his strength and used the sweeping force of his long sword. The moment the bloodthirsty demon ape hit him, the tip of the sword passed by his neck, and blood flew across his neck. Boom! The bloodthirsty demon ape fell to the ground. But, it's just one end. There were more than 300 of them here, and they were blocked on this small road. The handymen behind them kept coming. Even with 3 people at the 7th level of the body forging realm leading the way, they couldn't rush in. They just killed more than a dozen of them. The bloodthirsty demon apes on the periphery. It is basically unrealistic to kill all the bloodthirsty demon apes before leaving the passage. So, attacking in groups is unfair and unfair to the strong. People behind you can easily take advantage. In other words, the best way is to use your own means to sneak into the group of bloodthirsty demon apes and fight your way out. When Wu Yu realized this problem, others also thought of it. Especially the 3 strongest men, who had already used their skills to rush into the group of bloodthirsty demon apes. The bloodthirsty demon apes were tall and they could move around their crotches. Rush! When he got here, of course Wu Yu wanted to be the first to rush out. He almost became the 4th person to break into the group of bloodthirsty demon apes. It's you. Zhao Danlong was covered in blood from the killing, and he saw Wu Yu at a glance. In fact, he was also extremely tired, but when Wu Yu came in, it was a motivation or a threat to him, because Wu Yu had not reached the 7th level of the body training realm, and if he let him get ahead of him, he would lose face. Whoosh! Wu Yu continued to charge forward. It happened that he practiced ape ghost walking and had a great understanding of the movement trajectory of this bloodthirsty demon ape, so he would not be under too much pressure if he was mixed in this group, and he would dodge almost all attacks. It turns out that this last point is more of a test of footwork. Looking around, especially the green light, using the little green light footwork, like a flash of green light, although he is only 12 years old, he has already reached the front of the team. That sentence of confusion is not weak, and it follows Qing Mang. Zhao Danlong is very powerful, but his footwork is a bit weak, ranking 3rd. No, if this continues, I can only be in 4th place, Wu Yu thought while fighting. Because Vajra's indestructible body has superb resistance, the bloodthirsty demon ape can't do anything to him. At this moment, at the end of the road ahead, there was an earth-shattering roar, and all the bloodthirsty demon apes also roared. There is actually a demon ape that has absorbed blood and turned into a demon, Zhao Danlong exclaimed loudly, frightening the servants who came from behind. Whether or not to become a demon is the most critical change. With the capital of the bloodthirsty demon ape, its combat power will definitely soar after becoming a demon, and it may even approach the realm of martial arts god. Fortunately, becoming a demon requires a process. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. In this process, the demon beast will be stronger than the ordinary beast, but not terrible. After a brief surprise, many servants continued to rush and kill. Now Wu Yu also saw the demon bloodthirsty demon ape. Crack, crack. His body size has skyrocketed, and his weight is almost twice that of the ordinary bloodthirsty demon ape. The red in his eyes is disappearing. It is obvious that he is opening his spiritual wisdom. Once the spiritual wisdom is opened, he will have human wisdom. He can become a demon against the sky and transform into a human form, mix into the human world to harm and eat people. Kill. This ape demon is blocking the end of the road, and he must be cleared before he can go out. Zhao Danlong, Qing Mang, and Zhu Huo attacked almost at the same time. The 7-level body forging realms of the three showed their magical powers and fought fiercely with the ape demon. The attacks he used should be Zhao Shizhen sword, Yugus hand sword shadow and 8 demon killing styles. All of them are top-notch mid-grade martial arts. One sword soaring to the clouds. Qingyuan sword shadow. Demon slaying style. These three are very good. Their attacks left many wounds on the ape monster, but none of them were fatal. Moreover, they consumed a lot of energy. In a short period of time, the three of them were out of breath. It's not that Wu Yu didn't help, but the passage that the three of them had occupied, Wu Yu couldn't intervene. Roar. The ape monster was extremely furious, and now it was spitting out blood. With the roar, blood was everywhere. The blood was contaminated with foreign objects and had the effect of corrosion. In a hurry, Zhao Danlong and the other three retreated. Wu Yu finally waited for the opportunity. East China Sea Whale Slaying Sword. Wu Yu held the fine steel long sword in his hand and passed through the three people, as if he had come to the East China Sea with rolling waves. This time, he was closest to the exit of Tongxian Road. /U003ch//U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 12. The battle on Tongxian Road seems to be coming to an end. Who will be the first to rush out? Elder Xuanhuan stroked his long beard and stared at the exit of Tongxian Road with squinted eyes. /U003e. Su Yanli was also looking forward to it and said, "It is said that the last level is a test of footwork. I guess it is Qing Mang. The footwork of a little green light is very exquisite, almost considered to be a top-grade martial arts. Zhu Huo was born in the mountains and has been with wild beasts since he was a child. It should be possible. Not only them, now the eyes of more than 100,000 people are gathered at the exit of Tongxian Road. There are 100,000 handymen, many true disciples of Tongtian Sword Sect, and even many core disciples. And in the entire Bibo Mountains, there are countless powerful people who are all focusing on the immortal climbing peak. I guess it's Zhao Danlongzhen. His ancestral Zhao 13 Swords is the most powerful. Not necessarily. Qing Mang's Yuga Mountain Sword Shadow is a secret technique for killing monsters. There are discussions everywhere about who will be the first to break out of the immortal path. But Sun Wudao was not in the mood. Wu Yu, this kid is really annoying. Where did he go? Sun Wudao looked around, but he still didn't see Wu Yu coming back. He wanted to look for him, but he was worried that he wouldn't be able to find him again after Wu Yu returned. At this moment, the whole place was in uproar. Sun Wudao took a closer look and saw that it was a figure rushing out from the exit of the Immortal Road. Someone's out. For a moment, everyone was still noisy and discussing, but when this young man appeared, the whole place became silent. In addition to the handymen, there were many powerful people present. Although they were far away, they could clearly see this person's appearance in an instant. This person was taller than they imagined. It seemed that he was not even as tall as the 14-year-old Zhao Danlong. Moreover, he was a man, and he was obviously not one of the three people at the 7th level of the body forging realm. Who is that? More than 100,000 people stared at a figure on the immortal platform, and the whole place was silent. Even Mu Ji, the elder who taught the martial arts, was stunned at this time. He squinted his eyes for a long time and found that it was a young man he had never seen before. He seemed to be quite old. Xuanhuan, who was next to him, was the first to clearly see the presence of the person coming. Wu Yu, her red lips parted slightly, her eyes shone with surprise, and she couldn't calm down for a long time. In his eyes, the young man raised his head and saw her on the high platform. What's even more surprising is that his eyes were calm and unmoved by the crowd of 100,000 people watching. He actually made it this far. I remember that a few days ago, he only narrowly defeated Zhao Chuan. Is he Wu Yu? Mu Ji finally understood. He vaguely noticed that Wu Yu was not simple. This Wu Yu has a special temperament. It's a pity that he is older. Not many people knew who Wu Yu was and which mountain he belonged to. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Sunday. Sun Wuodao. There was a handyman from Yan Lifeng not far away. At this time, he walked up to Sun Wuodao, pointed at the young man in the field tremblingly, and said, Wu Yu. What? Sun Wuodao couldn't use his ears or eyes. In fact, he couldn't see clearly. That's Wu Yu. Wu Yu. Sun Wuodao's eyes widened. Just now he was wondering why this person looked so similar to Wu Yu, but it turned out to be Wu Yu. This frightened him, and he quickly said, Wu Yu. He said it was easy to get there, but he got lost and even ran to the Dengxian platform. What should I do? He thought Wu Yu had entered there by mistake. Sun Wuodao, Wu Yu rushed out from Tongxian Road, the handyman said tremblingly. Stop joking. Sun Wuodao was confused. He looked at Wu Yu in a daze, and now Wu Yu also raised his head and looked at Sun Wuodao. He remembered that direction. He clearly saw Sun Wuodao looking at him. He finally completed the step, and Wu Yu felt at peace. He waved his hand to Sun Wuodao, indicating that it was really him. I did it. Seeing that the old man was so excited, Wu Yu felt satisfied at this moment. He couldn't imagine how surprised Sun Wuodao must be at this time, and even cried with joy. This is what he desires. Of course, it's not yet time to actually pass the entrance exam. Wu Yu soared into the sky, the handyman disciple next to him said with emotion. Sun Wuodao's hands holding the seat were shaking. His eyes were much brighter. Perhaps for him, the person standing in Wu Yu's position now was the version of himself in his dream. High in the sky. Situjin. The girl in red, Huaqianyuo, almost fell from the crane. I saw it. Situjin's expression was gloomier than ever before. Wang Yiyang looked ugly and said, this is impossible. When he was whipped, I could see that he didn't have any force. How could he participate in the entrance examination today and be the first to pass the path to immortality? Lu Mixu's eyes flashed with a ruthless light and said, no one has gone from having no cultivation to the 6th level of the body forging realm in 1 month. It's obvious that he hid his strength before. No wonder you didn't beat him to death. Now there must be an ulterior motive for being so forbearing. Huaqianyu's face turned pale and she said, Situjin, if you treat him like this, he is so scheming, he will definitely take revenge. Situjin smiled cruelly and said, don't be intimidated, you are just a slave. Besides, it doesn't matter if you can be the first to come out. Historically, many people have relied on luck to fish in troubled waters like this. Lu Mixu said, it's not that I'm afraid, but the way a villain like him succeeds is really disgusting. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Situjin said, besides, there is still one more level in the entrance examination. As long as he fails to become an outer disciple, he will always be lower than us. I have my younger brother's support, why are I afraid that these ordinary people will fail? Really? At the last moment of the immortal road, Wu Yu seized the opportunity. At the moment when the three of them retreated violently, he rushed down, cut off the ape demon's legs with the East China Sea whale killing sword, and rushed over from under its crotch. although not very glorious, but at least it was successful. As for the three of them, they were stopped by the injured and even more furious ape demon, who was still fighting inside. Congratulations, Wu Yu, for being the first to break out of the Tongxian Road. Your name will be recorded in the history of our Tongtian Sword section. The sound of wooden songs echoed between heaven and earth. Everyone who is the first to break out of the Tongxian Road will be recorded in the history of the Tongtian Sword sect. This is a place that can easily become famous all over the world. Wu Yu. Wu Yu. For a time, 100,000 people were shouting Wu Yu's name enthusiastically. He is now the dream and pride of the handyman disciples. From a handyman to a disciple of the Immortal sect is a myth in the mind of a handyman and a direction for his efforts. If he fails to succeed before the age of 15, he will basically live the trajectory of Sun Wudao throughout his life. Every handyman has a dream to become an immortal. Crack. Seeing Wu Yu being so supported at the moment, Sidu Jin was still a little unhappy. He always felt that Wu Yu was mocking him mercilessly just standing there. So much so that he clenched his fists. On the other side, after confirming everything, Sun Wudao looked shocked and his eyes were slightly red. What a pleasure! What a pleasure! A large number of Yan Lifeng's disciples gathered around Sun Wudao, and Sun Wudao had never enjoyed those envious and respectful looks. After a while, Qing Mang, Go Huo, and Zhao Danlong killed the ape demon and came out of the path to immortality. Shameless guy, you're actually taking advantage of me. I'll kill you if you don't. Zhao Danlong's face turned gloomy, and he raised his sword to fight Wu Yu. Stop, Mu Ji said lightly, and Zhao Danlong lost his temper. He could only look at Wu Yu fiercely, and muttered, "You will be the one to watch the battle on the immortal platform later." Wu Yu did take advantage, but it didn't violate the rules, so he didn't care much. It's too early to be happy now, the key is the next battle on the immortal platform. Gradually, 100 handyman disciples rushed out and stood in front of the dazzling eyes covered in blood, with thousands of people watching. After reaching 100, the rest can only withdraw from the foot of the mountain and are not qualified to ascend to the immortal platform. Some are just a little bit worse, which is a pity. The access road to Tongxian Road is closed. 100 boys and girls, under the gaze of 100,000 people, are full of high morale and rage. Their young lives yearn for the immortal way, and they are shedding their blood on the road to becoming immortals. The place where they are is the immortal platform, which is a platform with a length and width of 100 feet each. The platform is sunken about 10 feet around. If you fall off the immortal platform in a battle, you will lose. Mu Ji stood up, his face was expressionless and his immortal power was vast. Seeing such a tyrannical immortal again, Wu Yu was very excited. After coming to the Tongtian Sword sect, his knowledge has greatly increased, and he is no longer limited to the small country of Suqiao. Of the 100 quasi-immortal sect disciples, only 30 of them can truly enter the immortal sect in this assessment. From the original 300 to the final 30, the opportunity to improve to 1 in 10 is to allow the disciples who can enter the immortal sect to be truly talented. The path to immortality is dangerous and dangerous. You have to fight against the sky, the earth, and monsters. Unless you have great potential and perseverance, you are not allowed to enter the path of immortality. Otherwise, it will only increase casualties and waste your life. Being able to come here, I believe that you all have some understanding of the ups and downs of the immortal road. I won't say more. The rules of the battle on the immortal platform are that you must ensure that you can stand on the immortal platform. If you are knocked down or crush the red fire talisman on your own, you will be withdrawn from the competition. Remember not to kill anyone. The murderer has a bad temper and cannot be an immortal. The battle will end when there are 30 people left on the stage. You can form alliances, engage in melee, etc. This is the rule of the battle on Sendai. It seems simple, but in fact it is extremely dangerous. The melee is more like a real war in the immortal world. There are no absolute allies and no absolute enemies. You have to beware of everyone and rely on others. The last remaining 30 people may not necessarily be the strongest 30, but these 30 people must have something special to stay on top. Even if they keep hiding, it is still a skill. Of course, it would be boring if that was all. Muji laughed when he said this, which also aroused everyone's curiosity. There is a tradition in our entrance examination, which is to win the immortal ball. Today, we have prepared 3 major gifts for the disciples who win the immortal ball. First of all, if you win the immortal ball, you will naturally become an outer disciple directly. If you go to the immortal platform at that time, the battle is not over yet, so you can leave early. Of course, it doesn't matter. The key is 2 important treasures. The first is a chi condensation pill. When they heard this name, everyone was in an uproar. The chi condensing pill is a real elixir. It is said that only the golden pill immortal can refine the elixir. It is extremely precious. It may be useless for the mortal body forging realm, but if you have a chi condensing pill and enter the chi condensing immortal root realm, using this chi condensing pill will get twice the result with half the effort. That's what Xuanhuan, an immortal in the chi condensing immortal root realm, wants. Of course, this is just one of them. The second reward is a top-grade ordinary weapon, named Demon Suppressing Sword. Its power is even comparable to that of ordinary magic weapons. Magic weapons are things that only immortals can use. Demon Suppressing Sword. Wu Yu's eyes were burning. That was much better than the fine steel sword in his hand. Its value was almost equal to the top-grade martial arts, and even more precious than the top-grade martial arts. Chi condensing pill and demon suppressing sword, these 2 things, many outer disciples are jealous, such as Sidujin and others. Only the 13-year-old demon Sidu Minglang could be equipped with the demon suppressing sword and hold the chi condensing pill. The battle for the immortal ball will be carried out simultaneously with the battle for the immortal platform. Whoever can grab the immortal ball on the immortal platform and hold it for 60 breaths will be the winner of the immortal ball. Once it is taken away, the time will be recalculated after it is taken back. If there are 30 people left and no one has won the immortal ball after the battle for the immortal platform, I will take the condensation pill and the demon suppressing sword. Muji finished his announcement. Then, the battle for the immortal platform officially began. /U003ch//U003e. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 13. The battle at Dengxiantai is different from the battle at Tongxian Road /U003e. Tongxian Road, in a closed environment, kill ferocious beasts. The battle on the immortal platform was a fierce melee in front of hundreds of thousands of people. At the same time, the huge temptation of the chi condensing pill and the demon suppressing sword made all the participants eager to win the fairy ball. Become famous in one battle and hold a valuable treasure in your hand. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow diamond suit. No one wants it? The same goes for Wu Yu. The so-called fairy ball is currently held in the Elderwood Singer of Xuanhuan. It is a white sphere with a landscape scroll painted on it, like a map. It is unknown what material it is made of. What Wu Yu and the others have to do is hold the immortal ball for 60 breaths to win the championship. Of course, you have to ensure that you are still on the immortal platform. The glare of the eyes of 100,000 people is also a huge pressure, and many handyman disciples simply cannot bear this pressure. There are also many disciples of Tongtian sword sect in the sky. When my fairy ball falls, the battle will begin. Muji's voice spread throughout Dengxian Peak. Oops. The tense moment finally came. the fairy ball was thrown high, and then fell at a terrifying speed. Mu Ge used some tricks. The fairy ball was on top of Wu Yu's head. When it fell, almost all the participants were rushing towards Wu Yu's direction. For a time, there were many dangers. The battle has just begun, when there are the largest number of participants. Whoever holds the fairy ball will definitely be attacked by a group of people. My current strength is not too strong among this group. Trying to be strong will only make a joke. Wu Yu had already made a calculation in his mind. At this time, when most people rushed towards him, he found an exit and rushed out first. As soon as he rushed out, his original position was crowded with people, and a melee broke out. Really hard work. Wu Yu hid on the edge of the immortal platform. There were too many people now and it was not suitable to take action. At noon, the sun was very hot, and it felt very comfortable on the body. Wu Yu's flesh, blood, muscles, and bones were all glowing with a faint golden light. There are many people who think the same way as Wu Yu. Most people are grabbing the fairy ball, while a small number of people are in a stalemate and don't take action. The body of Vajra is indestructible. The fifth level of the method is Golden War Blood. It is most suitable for absorbing the true fire of the sun during battles and forming hot golden war blood in the blood. The war blood sweeps through the whole body and reaches the level of mortal forging. The fifth level of physical condition is what I was 3 years ago. Wu Yu had undergone a blood transfusion once before, and he was very familiar with this process. Of course, after reaching the fifth level, it is a completely new realm, and you need to explore like everyone else. Don't leave. During the melee, even though Wu Yu was standing in the corner, someone was still staring at him. A burly handyman who was a full head taller than Wu Yu stepped forward, like a giant bull, holding a battle axe in his hand. He slashed towards Wu Yu's head. Wu Yu took action. Break the wind and cut the waves. This is the first form of the East China Sea whale slaying sword. It is a preparation for killing a whale. There are several variations. The key point is to use the will of a brave man to step into the East Sea and break through thousands of wind and waves to find the giant whale on the bottom of the sea. Wu Yu's opponent now is this giant whale under the sea. When there was a loud bang, Wu Yu's quick eyesight and quick hands hit the weak point of the tomahawk, causing the opponent's tomahawk to escape. Although the opponent was tall and powerful, Wu Yu surpassed him in terms of strength. Snap! A sweeping kick made the strong man fall down. Wu Yu hit him hard again, and his opponent was knocked cleanly and flew away, falling to the immortal platform with a loud bang. Wu Yu. In the sky, Sidu Jin was sitting on the crane. Seeing this scene, the faces of the two men and women looked ugly. Even the sixth level of the body forging realm was easily defeated. It seems that Wu Yu is no different from us. Hua Qianyu bit her red lips, her soft and graceful body trembled slightly, her beautiful eyes were also trembling, she was obviously not feeling well. It's a small skill. If you meet me, I can kill him in 2 or 3 strikes. Sidu Jin didn't want to lose his prestige in front of the beauty. Of course, Sun Wudao also saw this incredible scene. In this battlefield of 100 people, he finally found traces of Wu Yu. That clean attack made Sun Wudao want to go in and fight alongside Wu Yu. Sharp! Yan Lifeng's handymen next to him were sighing with emotion. After defeating 2 or 3 unsighted opponents, many people around him knew that Wu Yu was powerful, so they stopped trying to provoke him. Wu Yu was also happy to have some leisure time. At this moment, there was a huge movement in the middle of the immortal platform. Zhao Danlong grabbed the fairy ball. However, dozens of people surrounded him. Zhao Danlong is extremely confident in himself, but this is a battlefield with 100 people. He may not be afraid of 10 people, but besieged by 100 people. As Wu Yu watched, Zhao Danlong was extremely embarrassed. He used all his strength to intimidate his opponents, causing him to hold the immortal ball for about 20 breaths in total. During this period, more than 10 people directly quit the assessment, but next time for a moment, I was attacked by Xuanhuan, lost the fairy ball, and almost got knocked off the platform. Zhao Danlong was covered in blood and stumbled to the edge. In his current severely injured state, some people even wanted to drive him off the immortal platform, but the emaciated camel was bigger than the horse. Although Zhao Danlong was severely injured and unable to fight for the fairy ball, he remained I still have some ability on stage. Wu Yu. Zhao Danlong saw Wu Yu not far away. You are a despicable person, do you know how to hide in the dark? Zhao Danlong sneered. The way of fighting is not to be reckless. I always only care about victory or defeat, regardless of means, Wu Yu said calmly. In fact, this was his military strategy when he was the Prince of Suqiao. Of course you have to take action, but you must do it at the best time. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Coward. Zhao Danlong gritted his teeth. Wu Yu was too lazy to talk to him. The whole melee was very fierce, and people were always being eliminated. The number of people was decreasing. Of course, the further you got to the back, the slower the decrease. The one being besieged now is Xuanhuan, who holds the fairy ball. He had very good footwork and was always roaming the battlefield. Dozens of combatants were chasing him, which was smaller than when they were watching Zhao Danlong. 45 breaths. Xuanhuan has been holding it for so long. After a while, the qi condensing pill and the demon suppressing sword will be his. Qingmang has been waiting for this moment for a long time. There are 3 7th levels of the body forging realm. It is undeniable that they are the strongest. Qingmang, don't try to snatch it away. Xuanhuan stared at him eagerly. Qingmang didn't say much. He hid in the crowd. Xuanhuan tried his best to defend the fairy ball. He just had to hold on. Unfortunately, there were too many people attacking him. He only had one hand to defend. The fairy ball weighed 1,000 kilograms, and he only had to hold on. The hand can grasp it. Brush. A green sword light killed him. Xuanhuan's arm was injured and he was hit by several swords, and he followed in the footsteps of Zhao Danlong. No one can get the fairy ball, Zhao Danlong couldn't help but laugh. In fact, no one can become the fairy ball winner in many entrance examinations. Is there any chance for Qingmang? Mu Ji smiled. This Qingmang is the sister of one of his disciples. If she has a bright future, he will also benefit from it. Not necessarily, Su Yanli pointed at Wu Yu, who was unharmed. This kid has many tricks and is very tolerant. However, there are now more than 60 people left in the field, and about 30 of them have no intention of getting the fairy ball. Only 30 people are competing. The pressure is much lower than at the beginning. Wu Yu's strength is not as good as the 7th level of body training, and his martial arts is not as sophisticated as Qingmang's. Mu Ji could see clearly. In a head-on battle, Wu Yuki is at the 4th level of the body training realm, and is indeed not as good as Qingmang. He wants to get the fairy ball, haha, if he can get it, I will eat all the shit linger poop today. Sidu Jin was really stimulated today, and even his words were vulgar. Sidu Jin, you. Hua Qianyu didn't expect Sidu Jin, who came from a wealthy family, to be so vulgar. Qianyu, I'm sorry, I'm just a little depressed, Sidu Jin quickly explained, but he felt even more unhappy. Qingmang was very smart. After the little girl injured Xuanhuan, she did not directly steal the fairy ball, but retreated to the edge and let the remaining handyman disciples compete. Because of fairy ball, there are still a lot of people out of the competition. The next people holding the immortal ball basically couldn't hold on for 10 breaths. Seeing that the remaining number was close to 30, many people chose to give up. At this time, because the immortal ball could not become a disciple of the immortal sect, it would be too much. Not a good deal anymore. Wu Yu, "Do you want to snatch the fairy ball?" Go Huo and Zhao Danlong were severely injured, and it was difficult for them to be King Mong's opponent now, so the little girl raised her head and looked at Wu Yu, who was much taller than her. "I want to." Wu Yu held the stainless steel sword and walked into the field in a few steps. It was finally time to take action. Without saying a word, Qing Mang penetrated into the crowd with her little Qing Mang body technique. Several sword shadows flashed past, and the fairy ball fell into her hand. "A dozen of you come to rob again, don't blame me, Qing Mang, for being rude." The little girl's eyes widened, scaring away the dozen or so combatants. Now there are only about 40 people left, and the only ones who are still interested in snatching the fairy ball are. There were more than a dozen of them, but there wasn't much chance of them joining forces, so they gave up. "Wu Yu, it's your turn." Qing Mang held the fairy ball in one hand and pointed a long sword glowing with green light at Wu Yu with the other hand. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on these two people. One is the first young man to walk on the road to immortality, and the other is a girl recognized as the most talented among the handymen. Wu Yu did not expect such a battle situation. Although Qing Mang was small, he was smarter than Go Huo and Zhao Danlong. He had not taken action until now and also scared the others away. At such a young age, he has a very good grasp of human nature and war situations. But Wu Yu will not give up the fairy ball. Now, he is the only one who dares to compete with Qing Mang for the fairy ball. Of course, it is impossible to win in a head-on confrontation with the 7th level of the body forging realm. However, Wu Yu's advantage is that he does not need to hold the fairy ball. Qing Mang can deal with Wu Yu with one hand, and with her petite body, holding 1,000 kilograms of fairy ball will always have an impact. "This is wonderful." The wooden singer stroked his long beard and smiled. "I bet on Qing Mang," Mu Ji said. "Elder Mu is really a bully. However, Wu Yu is my Yan Lifeng's man. I bet on Wu Yu." Su Yanli rarely showed his eyes, and his pure eyes moved and stared at the young man heading towards the immortal road. "Please collect the new book and click to add it to your bookshelf. Red envelope password, \u003ch/\u003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 14. Chapter 14 Killing Whales in the East China Sea. Wang Yiyang looked at Wu Yu, then at Sidu Jin, and said, "Brother Sidu, you'd better give Ling less food today." Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Sidu Jin was slightly angry and said, "Brother Wang, what do you mean? If you eat less and poop less, then Sidu Jin won't need to eat too much essence. This is the truth. B\U003e. Wang Yiyang waved his hand and said, "Brother Sidu, don't be angry, I was just joking. Of course Wu Yu can't take away the fairy ball, Qing Mang is a scary little girl." Only then did Sidu Jin give up. "However, I am anxious and vaguely uneasy." Oops. Under the gaze of everyone, Wu Yu's eyes flashed with golden light, and he charged forward to kill. The sword's shadow filled the air wherever it was directed. Break the wind and cut the waves. The East China Sea whale killing sword, the first sword. Qing Mang only needed to block him and hold on until he was 60 breaths away. Qingyuan sword shadow. She moved beautifully, holding the long sword in her hand, and danced out the sword flower. The sword flower turned into a blue cloud, blocking Wu Yu's eyes like cotton flowers. When Wu Yu's stainless steel sword penetrated, it was as if it was stuck on in the shadow of this sword. Wow! The two were fighting, and the crowd was clamoring. The little girl is so awesome. His attainments in this Yugu Mountain sword shadow alone are very profound. In this confrontation, the shadow on Yugu Mountain broke Wu Yu's sword from the East China Sea. But, this is just the beginning. The giant whale comes out to sea. Wu Yu's sword momentum changed. The long sword roared angrily and trembled instantly. The blue clouds were the East China Sea in Wu Yu's eyes. The sword in his hand turned into a giant whale in the deep sea. At this moment, he concentrated all his strength, like a giant whale rushing out from the bottom of the sea. The sword tip tore the blue clouds. It stabbed King Mang's eyes instantly. Whoosh! Unfortunately, Qing Mang was not injured. The little girl moved her steps and used mysterious footwork to force the giant whale away from the sea. The black hair was flying, and Wu Yu cut off 3 of it, flying in front of Wu Yu's eyes. Qing Mang is only 13 years old, but she has exquisite facial features, charm, and outstanding temperament. It is estimated that in a few years, she will be as beautiful as Su Yanli. However, the mystery of the East China Sea whale-killing sword is like the waves of the sea, one wave after another, each wave is stronger than the last. Sweep across the sea. Wu Yu seized the opportunity and bullied him. Under the Immortal Sex Grand Prize, he couldn't care less that the other party was a little girl. The fine steel sword swept across it and turned into endless waves. The sword's power reached the sky. At this moment, the East China Sea Whale Slayer sword, really show your prowess. Qing Mang could only use that little Qing Mang footwork to continue retreating. As soon as the sword came out, 100,000 people were shocked. The force that swept across the sea was so domineering that Wu Yu alone could compare with thousands of troops. However, sweeping across the sea is just a foreshadowing. The essence of the East China Sea whale-killing sword is all in the last sword. When he was in Wudu, Wu Yu was not able to reveal the essence of this sword. It is different now. All the anguish is suppressed in his heart. Now under the scorching sun, in his heart, flames rolled. Wu Yu seemed to have arrived in the East China Sea, and the giant whale was raging in front of him. He held a long sword in his hand and swept across the sea, revealing the giant whale, which was the green light. Behead the whales in the East China Sea. Go to the East China Sea and kill the giant whale. The long sword pointed towards the sky and slashed down violently. Will, strength, and even soul are integrated into the sword at this moment. The vast East China Sea is broken open with the sword. The power of killing the whale was directed towards King Mang's head. So strong. Qing Mang's expression finally changed drastically, and he hurriedly used the Yuga Mountain sword shadow to resist, but before the sword was opened, Wu Yu slashed through it with one strike and left at the head. Qing Mang took a few steps back and was about to fight back again when suddenly his feet were empty. No, I forgot this is the immortal platform. King Mang's face turned pale. It is not easy to fall if your feet are in the air, but the problem is that Wu Yu's whale-killing sword in the East China Sea is right in front of him. If he does not retreat, he will only be hit by the sword. With such a domineering sword, he will die if he is hit by the sword. But if she retreats, she will definitely fall down, let alone the fairy ball, and may even be eliminated directly. Although Qing Mang is still young and still has a chance to enter the immortal sect, her status as a handyman is indeed a drag for her. Qing Mang chose to resist with his sword. When the result remained unchanged. Wu Yu's whale-killing sword was as powerful as a sword, causing a strong shock. Qing Mang was knocked back while holding the fairy ball. His feet were already in the air, and he had nowhere to use his strength, so he could only fall down. Oops! The whole audience was shocked. At this moment, Wu Yu made a move that puzzled everyone. With quick eyes and quick hands, he reached out and grabbed King Mang's clothes, flicked it, and threw it back to the immortal platform. Wu Yu didn't think much about the reason why he did this. He just felt that Qing Mang should enter the immortal gate. She fought with him with the fairy ball in her hand, and she only stepped on the air instead of being defeated by him. She shouldn't fall down like this. Qing Mang was stunned. She thought she was out. For a moment, everyone was immersed in this shock. Come again, Wu Yu was about to take action. At this time, Qing Mang suddenly threw the fairy ball and said, "You won, there is no need to continue." Wu Yu caught the fairy ball. He didn't expect Qing Mang to be so principled at such a young age. If he loses, and he doesn't make excuses for himself. Indeed, she should have been knocked off the stage, and the fairy ball would have returned to the stage for everyone to fight for. But Qing Mang was not ready to take action now. She even thanked Wu Yu for bringing her back so that she could still enter the immortal section. Although fairy balls are expensive, their quality is even more expensive. Zhao Danlong, Go Huo and others were unable to fight for it. Qing Mang did not take action, and the fairy ball fell into Wu Yu's hands. Of course, it's not that he is better than Qing Mang. However, the sword strike just now was indeed stunning. Among all the participants in the battle, there were probably only 3 at the 7th level of the body forging realm who could barely catch it. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Next came the final round of cleaning. Wu Yu held the fairy ball, but few people came to fight for it because his sword to kill the whale in the East China Sea was too powerful. As early as the moment Wu Yu repelled Qing Mang, the entire Dengxian Peak was in noise and discussion. Wu Yu is so powerful. He can repel Qing Mang. Although Qing Mang is burdened by the fairy ball, he is already very powerful to be able to do this. If the fairy ball is still in his hands in the end, then he deserves it. More people cheered for Wu Yuwei. This girl Qing Mang is so brave. Muj smiled helplessly. Elder Mu, I win. Su Yanli's fair face was filled with an intoxicating smile. It's not over yet. As soon as Mu Ge said this, the 60 breath time was up. The person in charge announced that Wu Yu had won the Immortal Ball and won the championship in this entrance examination. Be the first to break out of Tongxian Road. Finally won the fairy ball. When Wu Yu learned the news, he was in a daze. He just wanted to enter the immortal sect, but unexpectedly he became the champion and received 2 important treasures. He is not the strongest, but he is the winner. Wu Yu. Wu Yu. 100,000 handymen were calling Wu Yu's name. At this moment, Wu Yu was the hero in their hearts. It's their dream. Qi condensing pill, demon suppressing sword. Such a valuable treasure was unimaginable to Wu Yu, even his identity as the crown prince of Suqiao 3 years ago. Congratulations, Qing Mang pouted, although he was a little reluctant, he still said it. You don't mind me being a few years older than you, but I can be a friend. Wu Yu smiled. Now it was like a dream. He never thought that he would be standing here with 100,000 people cheering for him. The battle on the immortal platform is over. Sun Wuodao, Wu Yu became the champion. Entered the immortal sect and got a big treasure, a handyman said loudly in Sun Wuodao's ear. Oh! Sun Wuodao was still in a daze. Wu Yu, he has become an immortal, another handyman shouted loudly. I have become an immortal. Sun Wuodao stood up tremblingly, his eyes filled with tears. No regrets in this life, no regrets in this life, Sun Wuodao shouted to the empty platform. High in the sky. Situ Jin. Hua Qianyu felt a little sympathy when she saw that he was shaking with anger and his face was ugly. Wang Yiyang next to him curled his lips and did not dare to say more. Lu Mixu's eyes focused on Wu Yu and said, it's incredible. I'm starting to have a good impression of him. Wang Yiyang sneered and said, you are just a little guy who has turned around. Your aesthetics are really unique. Lu Mixu chuckled and said, I'm just kidding you. You, Wang Yiyang, are still afraid of him. Situ Jin was the only one who remained silent. He felt like he had been slapped several times on the face, and he was filled with anger and nowhere to vent it. The 30 of you, from today onwards, are the official disciples of my Tongtian sword sect. Follow me. In front of Wu Yu and the other 30 people was the serious elder who taught the skills. As for Su Yanli, it seems that he has left. Elder, can you wait for me for a moment? Wu Yu said. What's the matter? Because Wu Yu's performance was outstanding and there was Su Yanli behind him, Mu Ge naturally took it seriously. I brought an old man from Yanli Peak to watch the battle and wanted to arrange for someone to take him down the mountain. Now that the servants are leaving, Sun Wudao should still be there. Wu Yu must follow Muji's arrangements and complete some rituals. But now that the sun is shining brightly, Sun Wudao cannot wait for long. Allow. Muji said expressionlessly. Thank you, elder. After Wu Yu thanked him, he quickly passed through the crowd and ran to Sun Wudao, who had been waiting for him for a long time. Very good, Sun Wudao patted his back vigorously. Wu Yu looked at him. Sun Wudao had received all the surprises he had imagined. Now he was radiant and seemed to be 10 years younger. Wu Yu, Wu Shangxian, Immortal Xuanhuan is waiting for you. Don't worry, we will definitely send Sun Wudao back to Yan Lifeng safely. Several disciples of Yan Lifeng nearby began to build relationships. It happened that Wu Yu needed their help. Wu Yu, you go, don't miss the opportunity and rewards, I'll just go back with them, Sun Wudao said. Yes, Wu Shangxian, we brothers will all rely on you to survive from now on. I promise to serve him well, and you can rest assured that he will be your Shangxian. The handymen are all young and very sophisticated in their ways of the world. Muji couldn't wait too long over there. Wu Yu nodded quickly and explained to Sun Wudao, then turned and left, returned to Muji's side, and left with Muji. Let's go back. A group of servants took Sun Wudao over the mountains and ridges. Along the way, the servants were in a happy mood and sang songs one after another. Hey, 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 Yan Lifeng, Wu Yu has appeared, he will enter the path of immortality and win the immortal ball. The handymen sang back all the way. Overhead, cranes flew. Sidu Jin, look below. Hua Qinyu said suddenly. What? Sidu Jin was a little impatient. Looking down, I saw a group of handymen leading an old man, who was in high spirits. It's that old guy, Wang Yiyang sneered. Good Wu Yu, you are so heroic. Fight Danlong, retreat to Zhuhuo, defeat Qing Mang, fight Sidu Jin again one day, beat him to the point of peeing. Shit and piss are flowing, shit and piss are flowing. The servants made up their own songs and sang them happily. Red envelope password, /U003ch//U003E. Heaven swallowing record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 15. Wang Tianfeng /U003E. This is where Wu Yu lived and practiced after becoming a disciple of the Immortal sect. The Bibo Mountains are endless, and each core disciple owns a mountain peak and occupies all the resources on that mountain peak. About 100 outer disciples share a mountain peak. Wangtian Peak originally had more than 50 disciples, but now it has received 30 more disciples, so it is almost full. Among the huge mountain peaks, from the mountainside to the top of the mountain, and in several slightly shorter peaks around it, palaces in the fairy mist were built. Each outer disciple has a palace where he lives, practices, and meets inside. There is everything you need for a guest, and there is even fertile land for growing fairies. It is so beautiful that it even surpasses Wu Yu's palace in the kingdom of Wu in Dongyu. In addition, there are many trading places and scripture storage places in Wangtian Peak. There are many places for disciples to communicate. Generally speaking, being on the same mountain is like a family, and the relationship will be deeper. Wu Yu, Qing Mang, Zhao Danlong, Go Huo, and others will all stay at Wangtian Peak from now on, unless they condense their qi to plant immortal roots and become core disciples. Elder Xuanhuan led everyone to the Wangtian terrace of Wangtian Peak. This is the highest point of Wangtian Peak. Through the clouds, you can see thousands of miles of cloud sea, surrounded by countless clouds, floating like cotton. Between heaven and earth. From today on, you are the official disciples of my Tongtian Sword section. You will be members of my Tongtian Sword sect in life, and you will be the ghosts of my Tongtian Sword sect in death. For us sword cultivators, it is our duty to kill demons and destroy them. It is the duty of heaven. The elder Xuanhuan began to recite the sect rules. The Tongtian sword sect has 5 prohibitions and 10 commandments, as well as many detailed regulations. You must read and memorize the swordsmanship rules when you return. Do not violate it, otherwise the consequences will be severe, ranging from confinement to expulsion from the sect, or even execution on the spot. This is the Bibo Mountains Chronicles, which records the plan of our immortal mountain. You should also read it carefully so that you know what to do, where to go, and which places are forbidden to outside disciples. If you enter the forbidden area by mistake, you will definitely be punished. This is the chronicle of Dongsheng Divine Continent. My disciples of Tongtian must read it thoroughly and have a certain understanding of the entire Dongsheng Divine Continent's power, terrain, territory, the righteous immortal sects everywhere, or the demons and ghosts. He also distributed a book on martial arts and a book on swordsmanship, both of which were middle-grade martial arts and of little use to Wu Yu. Outer disciples, you can receive a flying immortal grass every month, and you can also choose a talisman. These senior brothers in charge of Wangtian Peak will lead you to receive it. However, you need to rely on your own efforts to practice, and everything will happen in the future. Handle it yourself. What I want to say is all recorded in the sect rules. However, I still want to tell you that the most important thing to become a disciple of the immortal sect is practice. Don't let hatred, lust, etc. blind you. You are currently the biggest. The goal is to achieve perfection in martial arts and enter the immortal path. Only then can one be considered a true ascetic. However, it is not that easy to condense Qi and practice Taoism. Only 1 out of 100 outer disciples can be born. In other words, of the 30 people present, it is very likely that none of them can truly become a Taoist in this life. Don't just become a Taoist. As a proud disciple of the immortal sect, you must know that the journey has just begun. Mu Ji's words made the restless disciples realize the difficulties of the path to immortality. There are 53 disciples in Wangtian Peak that are vacant. You can go and choose the one that suits you. Wu Yu stays. After hearing Mu's words, everyone couldn't wait. When they were still handymen, their dream was to have a fairy palace of their own. Now this wish has finally come true. However, the name Wu Yu reminded them of Qi condensing pill and demon suppressing sword. This is also the desire of many people. Normally, this is a treasure that only those with perfect martial arts can possess. Mu Ji didn't talk nonsense. He walked up to Wu Yu and first took out a jade box from somewhere. Although the box was closed tightly, there was still a burst of fragrance. This is the Qi condensing pill. It will be useful only after your martial arts is perfected. Remember not to open it before then. Yes. Wu Yu accepted the Qi condensing pill, which was a first-class treasure, but it was useless now. Then, there was a sound from the wooden singer, and another sword appeared. As soon as the sword came out, the strong murderous intent made many disciples unable to help but retreat. It was a big sword 3 fingers wide. It was as bright as snow and could break hairs when blown. There was a picture scroll carved on the blade, and the picture scroll was full of various monsters. On the hilt of the sword, 2 shocking characters appeared: suppress the demon. The demon-suppressing sword has a huge reputation outside the Tongtian sword section. Wu Yu had even heard of him when he was the prince, but he didn't know he was from the Tongtian sword section. To him at that time, the demon-suppressing sword was the most powerful weapon in the world. I didn't expect that I would get it like this. Treasures need to be treated well. After the elder Xuanhuan finished speaking, he drifted away. All the handymen looked at Wu Yu with envy. Let's go, junior brothers and sisters, from now on you will be a member of our Wangtian Peak family. I will lead you to choose your own brother. A middle-aged man stepped forward. Following him, Wu Yu picked a younger brother on the mountainside. Wu Yu, are we friends? Qingmang raised his head and asked him. Of course it is. Then I will come to you often to play and discuss. Jingmang was still a cold little girl before, but now she ran away happily. It seems that he still has the character of a child. Within my brother, everything is brand new. Everything is available, except for a few errand boys. Outer disciples have 10 quotas for errand boys. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. I will go back to Yanli Peak first and ask Su Yanli for a favor, so that Sun Bo can come to my place to enjoy his old age. Then I will find a few errand boys. The elders of the sect bring errand boys from outside every day for the outer disciples to choose from, and it seems to be at the mountain gate. So Wu Yu returned to Yanli Peak as soon as he settled down. There is a tall and handsome crane in the disciples, and it belongs to Wu Yu from now on. It is indeed much more convenient to have a crane to travel in these green mountains. Linger and Mayor of Situjing came in this way. Riding a crane, soaring in the sky, with a strong wind blowing, there is a sense of high spirits, and the vast world of the Immortal Gate is displayed in front of Wu Yu. Odd boys and formal immortal disciples are different. Yanli Peak. Wu Yu came riding a crane. According to the rules, he had to land in Su Yanli's crane garden. After becoming a disciple of the Immortal sect, he and Su Yanli no longer had a subordinate relationship. Land down. The crane is a spiritual animal. Although it cannot speak, it can understand human language. It landed in the crane garden with a long cry. A servant hurried forward to serve the crane, but the servant did not smile. Instead, he looked pale and nervous, and said, Wu Yu, something happened. Something happened. Wu Yu was stunned. The servant's fingers trembled and pointed to the hill where his wooden house was. Wu Yu suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. Did Sun Wuodao fall when he returned to Yanli Peak? Whoosh! Wu Yu looked ugly and was extremely anxious. He rushed towards his residence at the maximum speed, praying in his heart, don't get into trouble, don't get into trouble. It's getting closer. Wooden house. The door was not closed, and there were many servants standing inside, who were the ones who sent Sun Wuodao back. Their faces were pale and they were trembling all over. Wu Yu was struck by lightning, and his mind was blank. When he appeared in the wooden house, he saw a skinny old man lying on the bed. He closed his eyes and had lost his vitality. Boom! The blood suddenly rolled up and rushed to his brain like boiling water. His eyes were full of bloodshot, and the whole world in front of him turned bloody. Sun Wuodao was dead. You guys. Wu Yu now just wanted to tear these servants to pieces. But when he looked back, he saw two of them sitting on the ground, their mouths full of blood, their eyes wide open, and they were talking to Wu Yu in a babbling voice. Their tongues were actually cut off. Wu Shangxian, no. Don't blame us, it's Situjin. We met Situjin and 3 other people on the road. They strangled Sun Wuodao to death. Crash. The remaining servants all knelt on the ground. Gao Lan and Qian Feng just said a few words to them, and their tongues were cut off. We couldn't stop Situjin from taking action. The servants cried. Situjin. Wu Yu's eyes were red, and his chest was like a rolling volcano. Sun Wuodao was the person he respected the most at the moment. He had made every effort this month to make him happy and satisfied. But now that he had just become an outer disciple and was about to take off, Situjin actually killed him. Killed the old man who was already dying and unarmed. Poor Wu Yu, he was just about to take Sun Wuodao to Wangtian Peak to let him enjoy his old age. It seems that he hates you very much. When he saw Sun Wuodao, he killed him. Situjin also said that killing a servant is a trivial matter for them, just like crushing an ant. Gao Lan told them that you are already an outer disciple, and the first one. They laughed and not only cut Gao Ian's tongue, but also said that you are just a villain who turned over, a worthless life. They killed this old waste, what can you do to them? It seems that disciples of the immortal sect cannot kill each other, otherwise there will be disastrous consequences. So they are too unscrupulous. Xuanhuan is so old, but they still won't let him go. The servants were so angry that they trembled and cried. Xuanhuan. Wu Yu knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily. He will never forget that everything he got today was the fortune given to him by Xuanhuan. To him, this old man is like a father, strict, but with a heavy love in his heart. What a pity, the heaven did not give him the opportunity to repay his gratitude. He would not blame himself. It was not him who was wrong in this matter, but Sidujin. The man who wanted to beat himself to death with a long whip because of the crane. The man who wanted Xuanhuan to eat the excrement of the crane just for fun. The man who killed a centenarian because of jealousy, a beast. Wu Yu kowtowed heavily and let out a tearing roar. With a click, the floor under his hand was broken by him, and the part in his hand was crushed into powder. The thing he hated most was that he didn't kill Sidujin earlier. Wow! Wu Yu stood up, with endless blood, evil spirit, and murderous aura rolling on his body. If I don't kill Sidujin today, I, Wu Yu, swear not to be a human being. /U003ch//U003E. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 16. Wu Yu sat on the crane and headed to Mingtian Peak B/U003E. He couldn't forget those words of comfort. Never forget those countless instructions. I will never forget this month, returning to the cabin every day and the meals he prepared for himself. It was a feeling of home and deep love. The old man's wrinkled face was always serious, but the care in his eyes lingered in his mind. When Wu Yu won the entrance examination championship, his proud laugh made Wu Yu heartbroken. Sidujin. This person's arrogant, domineering and unscrupulous appearance broke into Wu Yu's mind. Wu Yu could even imagine how he killed Xuanhuan. Such scenes would only make every inch of Wu Yu's body burn with hatred. Of anger. He had just read the sect rules, which prohibited outer disciples from fighting privately, and any grudges should be reported. Ming Tianfeng. Arrive. The blood, flesh, bones, tendons, and even the internal organs all over his body are burning with golden anger at this moment. Bloodshot eyes are covered with blood, and the astonishing evil energy is permeating the air, which is unprecedented. Sidujin. Wu Yu's furious voice echoed in Mingtian Peak. For a moment, Ming Tianfeng was in an uproar. This was a provocation. I, Sidujin, am here. A careless voice came from Mingtian Peak. It was on the Mingtian platform, which was the largest square in Mingtian Peak. On weekdays, many immortal disciples competed here. Wu Yu drove the crane. It was just an hour after noon, and the sun was still shining brightly. It burned Wu Yu's flesh and skin, and streaks of golden light traveled around. Within the flesh and bones, raging golden fire was born. There were many immortal disciples on the Mingtian platform. They all saw a young man who seemed to be burning with golden flames falling from the sky. Before the crane reached the Mingtian Peak, he jumped off and landed heavily on the Mingtian platform. The Mingtian Tai made of huge rocks was torn apart by a network of cracks by the impact. Who is this? There were many people watching around, all disciples of the immortal sect, and they were not weak. But it was none of their business and they were too lazy to take care of it. Sidujin, Wang Yiyang, Hua Qianyue, and Lu Mixue walked out of a private room and came to the Mingtian terrace. From a distance, they saw the murderous Wu Yu. His ferocious eyes really shocked them. What the heck are you afraid of? There are 4 of us, and the Tongtian sword sect prohibits outer disciples from fighting, otherwise they will be expelled from the sect or even killed on the spot. What else can he do to us? Sidu Jin smiled coldly, not caring, and swaggering towards us. Wu Yu came over. It is said that this is Wu Yu, a handyman who has just passed the entrance examination. You see, he has a demon-suppressing sword in his hand. I just don't know, what is the conflict between him and Sidu Jin. Sidu Jin's younger brother is very defiant. His status has also risen. He has offended a lot of people recently. Given Sidu Jin's nature, not many people were willing to be with him. Wu Yu didn't listen to the comments of the people around him. When he saw Sidu Jin and the three people next to him, there was only one thing in his mind. Just like his oath, he would not be a human being unless he killed them today. Sidu Jin is the main murderer, and the other three are accomplices. Tap. In Wu Yu's hand, the fine steel long sword was replaced by a demon-suppressing sword that was close to a magic weapon. Under the scorching sun, the demon-suppressing sword shone with a cold-blooded light, and the patterns of the big demons on it seemed to come alive, roaring in the sword. Roaring, filled with blood. Without saying a word, Wu Yu suppressed him step by step, his eyes almost turned golden, and he collided with Sidu Jin. Who am I? It turns out to be Yan Lifeng's little servant. It is said that he entered the Immortal sect today. Why don't you go back to Yan Lifeng to show off your power and come to see me, Sidu Jin? Wang Yiyang beside him said with a smile, it's probably his damn old father who died. Of course, it's normal for an old immortal to die after crossing mountains and ridges. It's a waste of my Tongtian sword sect to survive at such an old age and not die food. Listening to their laughter, the two beauties couldn't help but laugh and scold them. That beautiful body and full curves attracted a lot of people's attention. Sidu Jin looked sinister and said directly, Wu Yu, to be honest with you, I killed that old guy. I don't like him, so what? You still dare to fight me? Do you have this ability? You have the guts. He is confident. There are 4 of him. This is the Tongtian sword sect, and it is in the bright and upright Mingtian peak. There are more than 20 immortal disciples watching, and there are more people coming here. His younger brother Sidu Jin, Sidu Minglang, is 13 years old and has perfected his martial arts. No one in the entire Mingtian peak dared to provoke him, Sidu Jin. Otherwise, with the aloofness of Wang Yiyang, how could the 3 of them gather around him, with him as the leader? Ha ha! Everyone laughed. In fact, this kind of farce often happens. But basically it's not a big deal. After finally entering the Immortal sect, who dares to violate the sect's rules and kill someone? Mess with Sidu Jin. This guy has just entered the Immortal section. He is really pitiful. Sidu Jin has that younger brother, so no one will dare to touch him. Just one person dares to come in and make noise. This Wu Yu is a brainless guy. The disciples of the Immortal sect burst out laughing, and Sidu Jin laughed even louder. He held Hua Qianyu's waist next to him and stared at Wu Yu unscrupulously. Whoosh! Wu Yu increased his speed and really came to kill him. Sidu Jin's expression changed. Don't do anything, I'll meet him. Sidu Jin's face was gloomy. He let go of Hua Qianyu, and pulled out a sword with a cold light, which was obviously only worse than the demon-suppressing sword. He danced the long sword and used the ice-killing sword, a mid-level martial arts from the Sidu family. Attack up! Trash, eat my frozen. Sidu Jin was proud and still wanted to really decide the winner with Wu Yu, so the sword of frozen was unfolded that day. Break the wind and cut the waves. When Wu Yu got closer, he suddenly erupted. His whole body seemed to be merged with the scorching sun in the sky. It was extremely dazzling. He held the demon-suppressing sword with both hands, raised it up, and slashed it down. The force of the impact was like that of a giant beast weighing 100,000 kilograms. Tear. Ah! The furious sword instantly collided with Sidu Jin's ice sword, which was said to be blessed by an immortal. It instantly shattered under the violent and furious slash of the demon-suppressing sword. Ding ding ding. Several blade fragments stabbed Situjin, one of which was directly inserted into the corner of his mouth, causing bright red blood to explode. Tear. The demon-suppressing sword was slightly shaken from its trajectory and failed to cut Situjin in half on the spot, but it also cut off one of his arms. The arm flew out, blood flying, and it was burning under the scorching sun. Boom. This scene lasted just for a moment, and all the immortal disciples who were watching were stunned. All the ridicules just now froze at this time. Situjin rolled to the ground, huddled together, screaming like crazy, completely different from the arrogant look he had just now. He was defeated in one move and almost died. At this moment, Wu Yu was like a demon, his eyes were cold, and he stabbed Situjin in the chest with his sword again. Situjin. Stop. They didn't expect that Wu Yu really had such courage and that he really wanted to kill Situjin. For a dying handyman. Wang Yiyang and others were in confusion now. Wu Yu was so angry that it exceeded their imagination. At this moment, they rushed up in panic. The three of them joined forces to block Wu Yu. Situjin crawled out of the bloody path while screaming. Combat range. Call my brother out. Call my brother out. Situjin lost an arm and went crazy, his eyes were red. He thought that with Wang Yiyang and the others standing in front of him, he could at least hold on until his eldest brother came out. In fact, he was with his eldest brother Situkang just now. A cry of surprise. Snap! A figure fell next to Situjin, covered in blood, and Situjin was trembling with fear. Lu Mixue. The tall woman next to her was Lu Mixue. A moment ago, Situjin was also planning on getting her into bed. But at this moment, she was struck by a sword in the heart, piercing her chest. The blood stained her whole body red, and her eyes were pale. His eyes were staring at the sky. Die with your eyes open. Dead people. For a time, the entire Mingtian Peak was in complete turmoil. An ordinary grudge fight and a dead person are two completely different things. This matter has become a big deal. Before long, the attention of the entire Tongtian sword sect will be gathered here. The elders, core disciples, etc. will all know about the major events happening here. Countless people exclaimed. Perhaps Situjin's character was too poor. There were more than 20 people around him, but no one came to help him. In fact, Wu Yu is like a god of death at this moment. Such a god of death, even if he is in a higher realm than Wu Yu, he would not dare to intervene rashly. What if Wu Yu has other means to lose his life for Situjin and participate in this major event? Quite worthless. Snap! While Situjin was looking at Lu Mixue's corpse, his whole body was trembling and trembling, another body fell directly on top of him. Situjin pushed it away with one hand, and the man fell beside him, his eyes also widened, but looking at Situjin. Huaqianyue. This beauty, who was almost beaten by him, also stared at him blankly, refusing to close her eyes. The charming beauty turned into bones in an instant, and her body was losing its temperature. For Situjin, there was no temptation anymore, only fear. Situjin simply forgot about the pain all over his body, only fear. However, even if you want to regret it, it's too late now. Situjin, I hate you. In the end, Wang Yiyang stumbled and fell next to Situjin, looked at Situjin with the most resentful eyes, and then died. Kill 3 people in a row, kill 3 people in a row. Buzz. Situjin saw Wu Yu with his sword blade stained with blood. Under the scorching sun, his body seemed to be burning with golden fire, and his eyes glowed with golden light, piercing Situjin's heart. Something big happened. Ming Tianfeng, countless people were exclaiming. It's your turn. Wu Yu stepped forward in advance. Situjin was lucky not to die first. But unfortunately, he witnessed the death of Wang Yiyang and others. The fear and pain were simply unimaginable. When Wu Yu stepped forward, Sidu Jin crawled back like crazy, and was so frightened that he couldn't control his urine. Court death. Suddenly there was a loud shout, and a cold light struck from the front. Wu Yu was about to kill Sidu Jin, but was stopped again. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. Sidu Jin's fate was really great, and he was saved again. Sidu Kang was drinking and having fun. Just now Sidu Jin said he wanted to solve a small problem. Unexpectedly, in an instant, 3 people died and Sidu Jin also lost half his life. What appeared in front of Wu Yu was a man who was taller than Sidu Jin. He looked similar to Sidu Jin, but he was less arrogant and more cold and restrained. He was wearing a set of hard armor and looked like a general. "Brother, kill him! Kill him!" Sidu Jin screamed heartbreakingly. His brother Sidu Kang was at the 7th level of the body forging realm. And he was devoted to cultivation, 10 times stronger than Sidu Jin. The 7th level of the body forging realm is called concentration of mind. It forges the brain. After completion, it is a qualitative leap, far exceeding the 6th level of the body forging realm. After concentration of mind, practicing martial arts and understanding the immortal way can make rapid progress. You have caused such a murder. I will cut you into pieces for the immortal sect. Sidu Kang drew out a broadsword, which was sharp and domineering, and was closer to the demon-suppressing sword. Wu Yu had a clear distinction between gratitude and resentment, and said, "You have no grievances with me, get out of the way, I don't want to kill you." Sidu Kang sneered and said, "You are wrong, I want to kill you." His brother's arm was cut off, and 3 of his companions died. How could he not be angry? Moreover, now he has an excuse to kill people. Even if he is punished by the higher UPS, it is not his turn. The main culprit, Sidu Jin, is not dead yet. Even if he has a broken arm, he can still reattach it if he has the resources. To kill Sidu Jin, he must get past Sidu Kang. Wu Yu had no choice. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he charged forward with the demon-suppressing sword in hand. Every step he took on the ground caused a crack. After killing 3 people in a row, his murderous intent increased again. Sweep across the sea. Kill the whale in the East China Sea. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 17. With the demon-suppressing sword, there is a huge difference in the power of birth when using the East China Sea whale killer twice B\U003E. Especially this time, he was extremely furious, with anger gushing out of his chest and his heart burning with hatred. However, Sidu Kang had been promoted to the 7th level of the body forging realm for quite some time, and his combat experience surpassed that of Wu Yu. Faced with Wu Yu's killing move, he was fearless, and with one step, he attacked with that broad-edged sword. 2 swords clash. 1,000 miles of ice. Sidu Kang's sword force created a picture of 1,000 miles of ice, and a cold air rushed towards his face. The cold air was full of star-studded sword light, which was very deadly and was infinitely stronger than the arrogant and domineering Sidu Jin. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow diamond suit. Brother, kill him and chop him into pieces. Sidu Jin will never forget the ugliness he made today. Now that he is alive, he will make Wu Yu despair. Dang dang. Wu Yu used the East China Sea whale killing sword to confront Sidu Kang's ice killing sword several times. Although his will and sword were united, the opponent had the strength of 200 war horses after all. In one confrontation, Wu Yu was knocked away and fell backwards. In 10 steps, he almost dropped the demon-suppressing sword in his hand. Wu Yu is finished. Sidu Kang's strength is twice that. The disciples who were watching the immortal sect were all talking and looking at Wu Yu with pitiful eyes. After making such a big mistake, Wu Yu was dead as soon as he entered the immortal sect. Basically no suspense. Brother, don't kill him right away, leave me to make up for it. Sidu Jin crawled to his feet, his face full of anger. Sidhu Kang's face was indifferent, and he charged quickly, using his magical footwork, and the cold sword came at him. Wu Yu was shrouded in layers of ice, and it was difficult to survive under such a strong attack. For him, Sidhu Kang was too strong. He seemed to be in a snow country, frozen for thousands of miles. Fatal crisis. Sidhu Jin killed Sun Wudao and is still at large. Wu Yu still did not cause fatal harm to him. Now Sidhu Jin is even more arrogant. Even though his body is stained with blood, his eyes are full of expectation. He wants to see Wu Yu despair in front of him. Die. Wu Yu, you are destined to suffer hatred in my hands in this life. Do you want to avenge that old guy? What a pity, you loser, you don't have this ability. Sidhu Jin laughed maniacally. Sidhu Kang's fatal move came. I can't die. The path to immortality has just begun, how can he die? The sun was scorching and Wu Yu was on fire. He was not afraid of Sidhu Kang. Even if the other party was freezing cold, his heart was still burning. That is a sincere heart. The great sage Kishan speaks so loudly. As a successor of his mantle, how can I die here, in the hands of a small person? He is proud and he sneers. It's not over yet. From the decisive battle at the Immortal platform an hour ago to the massacre at Mingtian Peak today, he was always under the scorching sun, always in tension, and his flesh and blood were always under the scorching sun and the true fire of the sun. Sidhu Kang came with a violent attack, Wu Yu blocked it again, the tiger's mouth broke, and the demon-suppressing sword flew out, almost flying down Mingtian Peak. Wu Yu, it's time for you to die. Sidhu Jin hid behind Sidhu Kang and laughed ferociously. Aha! Now Wu Yu is unarmed, the indifferent Sidhu Kang comes again, and the cold comes again. I'm Wu Yu. At this moment, Wu Yu opened his arms and bathed in the scorching sunshine. His whole body was burning with golden flames. The scorching true fire of the sun burned his flesh, muscles, bones, and internal organs. He raised his head and looked at Sidhu Kang, Sidhu Jin, and all the immortal disciples with his golden eyes. I am indestructible, immortal, and immortal. How can you, a mere mortal, harm my indestructible body? Today is the beginning of my path. From now on, all over the world, I, Wu Yu, will go against the chaos, kill all the injustices, be happy with my grudges, and restore the right path to the world. Golden battle blood, against my divine body. Surprisingly, in this battle, changing blood against the will of heaven was so dangerous, but Wu Yu did it. In the endless blood veins of the body, golden flames burn, and the blood-colored blood transforms under the burning sun, layer by layer, turning into golden blood, flowing throughout the body. What? He is only at the 4th level of the body training realm, and now he has changed his blood against the will of heaven. It's impossible. The 4th level of the body forging realm only has the strength of 20 war horses at most. He has at least 120. Miracle. A miracle that defies heaven. When Wu Yu changed his blood against the sky, the more than 30 disciples of the immortal sect gathered around were stunned. The 4th level of the body forging realm, fighting against the 7th level of the body forging realm, and he is not dead yet. The deep shock, like a heavy hammer, made everyone's mind go blank, leaving only the scene of Wu Yu changing blood against nature. This is his second blood exchange. Everything was done with ease, and he understood all the techniques and difficulties. At this moment, it was the right time, right place, right people, and Sidhu Kang's murderous intention, which unleashed all his potential. Sidhu Kang's face changed slightly and he continued to kill. Behind him, Sidhu Jin took 3 steps back and said in shock, although he is 15 years old, his actions against heaven are terrifying. Big brother, we must kill him. Cut the nonsense. Sidhu Kang knows this truth better. He is so strong at the 4th level of the body training realm. Even if he is old, as long as he grows up, he will still be a terrifying enemy. The fatal sword stabbed Wu Yu's throat. Boom! The heaven-defying blood exchange was completed, and Wu Yu officially entered the 5th level of the body forging realm. Forge the flesh, sharpen the tendons, refine the bones, strengthen the internal organs, and exchange blood. He has returned to the level he was at when Wu Du was there, but he is much stronger than then. At that moment, his eyes opened and the killing sword was right in front of his throat. Shocking moment. Wu Yu sneered at the corner of his mouth, his eyes were quick and his hands were quick. At that moment, he suddenly stretched out his hand and grasped Sidhu Kang's sword extremely quickly. With a click, his palm was like steel, holding down Sidhu Kang's sword and holding it tightly. Damn it, Sidhu Kang couldn't score another point. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. What? The disciples of the Immortal sect were shocked one by one. He took the sword with his bare hands and succeeded. Sidhu Jin felt like he was struck by lightning. Sidhu Kang's expression changed drastically. He felt terrible power on Wu Yu's body, completely crushing him. The sword was held in Wu Yu's hand, but he couldn't move. That's right, after the extraordinary blood exchange, Wu Yu had the strength of 300 war horses, which was stronger than Sidhu Kang's strength of 100 war horses. Second brother, my name is Ming Lang. At this time, Sidhu Kang was so shocked that he could only ask for help from his defiant brother Sidhu Ming Lang. However, his voice stopped instantly. But when Wu Yu held his sword with one hand, he made a fist with the other hand and hit Sidhu Kang's chest directly. With a loud bang, all the armor behind Sidhu Kang shattered and scattered on the ground. Well. Sidhu Kang let go of the hilt of the sword with his right hand, his eyes widened, bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and he fell to the ground softly. His internal organs were directly shattered, and black blood flowed out. Brother! Sidhu Jin's face turned pale and he fell to his knees heavily on the ground. In just an instant, Sidhu Kang went from victory to death. The heir to his Sidhu family was gone. The scene was extremely silent, and all the onlookers retreated, looking at Wu Yu in awe. Wu Yu, who was shining with golden light at this moment, was afraid that it would become their nightmare. Although he is only at the 5th level of the body training realm, everyone present is higher than him in terms of realm. I won't give you another chance. Wu Yu's face was filled with deep indifference. Even killing 4 people could not relieve him of the hatred in his heart. Only Sidhu Jin was the one he hated the most. He took the demon-suppressing sword and reached Sidhu Jin's side in a few steps. Sidhu Jin was kneeling on the ground, lost in thought, and had already collapsed mentally. Raise your head. Wu Yu raised the demon-suppressing sword and looked down at him. Wu Yu, my brother Sidhu Ming Lang. Sidhu Jin said with difficulty, looking at Wu Yu with eyes full of blood and tears. I am afraid that only at this time did he realize his deepest regret. Uncle Sun told me that mortals cannot fight immortals. He was wrong. Mortals can fight immortals as long as they become immortals, right? Sidhu Jin. Wu Yu looked at him with burning eyes. Yes, Sidhu Jin nodded in panic. At this moment, everyone was suffocated. Wu Yu raised his head and looked at the sky, as if he saw Sun Wuodeo in the countless fairy mist. Uncle Sun, from now on, no matter what kind of disaster or suppression, I, Wu Yu, will rather die than surrender. Thank you for allowing me to be reborn and reborn. Whoosh. When he said the last word, the demon-suppressing sword was swept down, and Sidhu Jin's head flew out and rolled down Mingtian Peak. For Wu Yu, this moment is a leap for his spiritual soul. It turns out that this is the immortal road. The path to immortality is cruel. It is not just about practicing, it also requires competition. Fight with the sky, fight with the earth, fight with people, and fight with monsters. In a time of great strife, only the strong can achieve enlightenment. Practice is plundering, only strong can be chivalrous. This sentence is the foundation of spiritual practice. After Sidhu Jin died, the anger in Wu Yu's heart completely subsided. He stood on the Mingtian platform, like a mortal, without the golden light shining before. All the immortal disciples were looking at him. Wu Yu knew very well that there would be consequences next. Cause and effect are connected. It is impossible to kill 5 people in a row, and he can still be safe and sound. This is the Tongtian sword sect. Eldest brother, second brother. When Situjin's head flew out, someone came from afar in the clouds and mist. They were several young men and women. What they were riding on was not a crane, but a huge white rock whose flying speed was several times that of the crane. The group of men and women fell from the Penganiao. All of them were like Su Yanli, with the cultivation and temperament of an immortal. They were at least core disciples. A very strong group of people, completely beyond the level of martial arts. They have entered the immortal path. Among them, there is a 13-year-old boy who is not tall and looks a bit like a woman. He has exquisite facial features and long hair with traces of blue light. His pupils also shine with blue fluorescent light from time to time. He stands in front of a group of core disciples. Surrounded by people, they rushed over anxiously and saw the scene of Wu Yu destroying Situjin and Situkang. He is the 13-year-old monster, Situ Minglang. /U003ch/U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 18. Situ Minglang, 13 years old, a young super genius. The 10th level of the body forging realm, the realm of martial arts and spiritual connection, almost condensing energy and truly stepping into the immortal path /U003e. Now, the legendary figure stood in front of Wu Yu, and it was undeniable that he was indeed terrifying. Wu Yu had never seen anyone with martial arts and divine powers in Dongyu Wu Kingdom. The only martial arts master he saw was a centenarian who was only in the 9th level of martial arts. He is approaching the end of his life, and like Sun Wudao, he doesn't have much fighting power anymore. Situ Minglang is a super young genius who can be written into a legend. His brilliance has only begun to show at this time. No one can estimate how far he can go in the future, even surpassing the supreme leader. Now, he saw Wu Yu beheading his 2 brothers with his own eyes. Situ Minglang stared at Wu Yu. In an instant, Wu Yu felt the deadly ice. He truly fell into a world of ice and snow. Looking around, there was no warmth in the whole world, only death. What's your name? Situ Minglang walked over step by step. Rumor has it that in the realm of martial arts and spirituality, its power is equivalent to 2,000 war horses. One person can be like 1,000 troops. If a mortal country has a strong martial arts warrior, he can dominate Dongsheng Shenzhou. Wu Yu. Wu, speaking up and down to the sky, is Wu who swallows the sky. Wu Yu stood upright and did not bow his head because of the severe cold. You kill my 2 brothers, and I will let you die after experiencing all kinds of pain in the world. Situ Minglang's eyes were filled with blue light. At a young age, his mind was not simple. Wu Yu did not answer. The huge pressure from Situ Minglang made him understand that this is the time when he should not be proudest. There is a mountain higher than the other. He is considered the number 1 genius in Dongyu Wu Kingdom. If he wants to compare with Situ Minglang, he is like a dog. Shit. Senior brothers and sisters, can I take him away? Situ Minglang turned around and asked the core disciples. The identities of these core disciples are particularly precious. If Wu Yu guessed correctly, they should all be disciples of the Protector. In the Tongtian sword sect, the supreme leader is the most powerful, and there is also a supreme protector whose status is equally high, second only to the leader. Many affairs in the immortal sect are actually handled by the supreme protector. The personal disciple of the Supreme Protector, his status is no less than that of Su Yanli. It is said that the Supreme Protector will accept Situ as his disciple after he has gathered his energy and entered the immortal path. Therefore, it is normal for Sidhu Minglang to gather with the disciples of the Supreme Protector. Don't worry, junior brother, we will help you deal with it. You can deal with him as you wish, one of the men said calmly. Obviously, for Sidhu Minglang, killing him on the spot was not enough to satisfy his hatred, so he had to use all possible methods. Thank you. Sidhu Minglang turned around and walked towards Wu Yu. Naturally, he would not take Wu Yu seriously. To be honest, with his current level, few people in the entire Tongtian sword sect could understand him. At this moment, Wu Yu truly experienced the horror of the 10th level of the body forging realm. It was like a tiger in the ice and snow, and Wu Yu was like a rabbit in front of him, crushing it at will. What to do? Wu Yu didn't know, he only knew that he was right to avenge Sun Wuodao. As for how Sidhu Minglang tortured himself, he couldn't imagine. He only knew that as long as he didn't die, he would have a chance. Ding ding. Ice and snow were flying around him, and the ice and snow cut him, showing blood marks on his skin. Wow! Just when Sidhu Minglang was about to capture him and crush him at will, a woman with a long flowing skirt appeared in front of Wu Yu. She was shrouded in fairy mist, and Wu Yu knew who she was just by looking at her back. Su Yanli. A stunning woman who captivated the country and the city. Wu Yu was actually a little moved. This doesn't seem to be the first time. Does she still want to save herself? Incredible. Senior Sister Su. Seeing Su Yanli's arrival, Sidhu Minglang removed all suppression. He was only 13 years old and could be so calm after the death of his two brothers. This was more cold-blooded than Wu Yu. When Wu Yu saw Sun Wuodao's death, he completely lost his mind. But Wu Yu would rather not be so rational. That's not him. Su Yanli nodded, her long skirt fluttering, and a few beautiful colorful ribbons wrapped around her body. The mountain wind blew and rolled onto Wu Yu's face, full of fragrance. Sister Su, I want to take him away. Sidhu Minglang is neither humble nor arrogant, said. Su Yanli said, he belongs to me, Yan Lifeng, and no one can take him away. Sidhu Minglang never expected that Su Yanli, who was just a handyman who had just entered the Immortal sect, would protect him. No matter how cold his temper was, he was a little angry at this time and said, Senior Sister Su, he killed 5 outer disciples and my 2 brothers. He deserves to be punished. How dare you disobey the sect rules? Su Yanli said, you, Sidhu Minglang, are not the ones who enforce the sect's rules. It's not you who enforces the sect's rules, it's the elders and the headmaster. You, Sidhu Minglang's chest heaved, obviously very angry, but in fact Su Yanli was right, he had no power to enforce the sect rules. Su Yanli, stop making trouble. The sect's rules are dead, but we are all alive. Wu Yu has caused such a huge disaster and even harmed Sidhu Minglang's 2 brothers. Just think of it as a favor for us. Forget it about Wu Yu. The disciples of the Supreme Protector came forward one by one. To them, Su Yanli's current behavior was a bit unbelievable. Wu Yu is just an insignificant disciple. They are the head teacher and the guardian disciple. They are direct disciples, and their status is 100 times higher than Wu Yu. It would be foolish for Su Yanli to offend them because of Wu Yu. After all, they are the mainstays of the next generation of Tongtian sword sect. Of course, Wu Yu herself felt that there was no need for her to be enemies of these people for herself. Maybe it's because their guardianship and headship are in tit-for-tat opposition? Su Yanli said, I have informed the headmaster, Master, that he will be here soon. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Many people have never seen the Supreme Headmaster in such a long time. Today, Wu Yu caused this incident, and Su Yanli actually invited the headmaster. That was the first person of the Tongtian sword sect, the super powerful person who founded the Tongtian sword sect, the legendary Golden Pill Immortal. Headmaster. The disciples of the Supreme Protector looked ugly. Even the Supreme Protector must be under the jurisdiction of the leader. He is the strongest being here. He is the sect leader of the Tongtian Sword sect, and now the Supreme Protector is not in the Tongtian Sword sect at all. Once the leader comes, if he favors Wu Ifu. However, they were still not worried. What could the dignified headmaster do to favor Wu Yu, a nobody? However, Situ Minglang still clenched his fists. Although it could not be seen on the outside, he was probably filled with overwhelming anger in his heart. Headmaster. Wu Yu thought of the person who brought him here. Like Sun Wuodao, he was the person who changed his destiny. Wu Yu was filled with awe of this golden elixir immortal. Su Yanli left after the entrance examination. Could it be that he went to see the headmaster? Mingtian Peak was extremely turbulent. Suddenly, a golden sword light flashed in the sky, and suddenly a golden giant sword floated in the sky, piercing the clouds. On top of the golden sword, stood a black-haired middle-aged man, with a sword on his back. Holding both hands, the sword energy is overwhelming. It's him. Wu Yu recognized him immediately. Meet the true master. For a moment, everyone was half kneeling on the ground, including Su Yanli. Wu Yu had knelt down to worship him a long time ago, and it was the same now. This is a respectable person and Wu Yu's savior. I have some understanding of what happened today, and I know the whole story. The voice of the real master reverberated between heaven and earth. I beg the master to hand over Wu Yu to me. He killed 5 people in a row and violated the immortal rules, Situ Minglang said calmly. Everyone looked respectfully at this mythical golden elixir immortal. Feng Xiai was not affected by Situ Minglang and said, Situ Jin and 4 other people have murdered a centenarian. They have lost the virtues of monks and are not worthy of being disciples of my Tongtian Sword section. Death is not a pity. Situ Kong helps those who have lost their virtues. I deserve to die. As a disciple of the Tongtian Sword sect, I must be worthy of my heart, and I must be worthy of my sword. Our sword can slay demons and demons. If it were used against a centenarian, it would really be a shame for our sect. This sentence swept across the endless blue mountains like wind and thunder, and even everyone could hear it. That is the voice of the Supreme Headmaster. He is the most awe-inspiring voice in the entire Bibo Mountains. Without him, there would be no Tongtian Sword sect. No one disrespects him. Golden Elixir Immortal, with his coercion, no one dares to resist, no one can resist in one sentence. Situ Mingliang never expected that there would be such a trial. He was shocked, and the disciples of the Supreme Protector were also shocked. But if you think about it carefully, with the teachings of the Supreme Being, a Taoist who does not kill demons but bullies and kills centenarians has any right to claim to be on the right path? No. Situ Minglang knew that there was no way he could control Wu Yu if he continued like this. However, all his rebellious voices were stuck in his throat and he could not speak out. Under the pressure of the Golden Pill Immortal, he had no choice but to kneel on the ground. Can only tremble. Wu Yu, you killed 5 people in a row. Although the 5 of them made mistakes, their methods were still brutal. Therefore, I will punish you with 1 year of confinement and repent. Feng Shui's voice echoed again. It's also shocking. This is the judgment of the Supreme Leader. Situ Minglang was dissatisfied. He's going crazy. However, he was suppressed and could not refuse. Even those senior brothers and sisters who are condensing their energy cannot be convinced. Because this is the world of Feng Xia. For Wu Yu, all this was so unimaginable. Situ Jin and the others would not regret their death. As for himself, 1 year of confinement and 1 year of imprisonment were considered punishment, but they were actually protecting him. For at least a year, Situ Minglang could not kill him, and he was safe and sound. This result was too unexpected for him. It was literally from death to life. He was deeply shocked and grateful. It was simply another life-saving grace. As for the reason, he is not sure yet. Perhaps the Supreme Headmaster hates the lineage of the Supreme Protector, or the Supreme Headmaster has discovered his amazing talent. In this life, Sun Wudao, Su Yanli, and Feng Shui are all his nobles. Often when Wu Yu was at his most desperate, they brought him a glimmer of hope. At this moment, it was useless to say thank you. Wu Yu remembered deeply in his heart that he would repay these two in the future. Sun Wudao said that he had already missed them. He could not miss these two people again. Headmaster, Wu Yu killed someone, how can the punishment be so light? Situ Minglang resisted the pressure and said desperately. On top of the giant sword, the golden elixir immortal glanced at him and forced all his words back. Situ Minglang has a pure heart, and only then can he become a golden elixir. Every word Feng Shui pierced Situ Minglang's heart like a sword. Situ Minglang had a high opinion of himself. It was only then that he realized how terrifying the leader was. He was definitely the kind of person who could kill himself with just one look. I am a young genius, and everyone treats me well, except this master who ignores me. Minglang, there are plenty of opportunities. Our master is away, so we can only suffer now. Obviously, the master has taken a fancy to this person's talent. The disciple of the Supreme Protector of the religion secretly said to Situ Minglang. I understand, then wait a year. Now, it is impossible to contradict the master here, and the real protector of the religion is not here, and no one supports him. No matter how much he says at this time, it is asking for trouble. Wu Yu, wait for you to come out in a year, and I, Situ Minglang, will come to ask for advice again. Situ Minglang knelt on the ground, with hatred flashing in his eyes. Wu Yu was still immersed in the surprise brought by Feng Xia, but Situ Minglang's hatred was not eradicated. In the days to come, he must bear the murderous intent brought by this genius disciple. As long as Situ Minglang is still alive, this murderous intent will not stop, unless Wu Yu surpasses him. In a year, maybe you will not be my opponent, Wu Yu said lightly. What? Everyone couldn't help laughing when they heard Wu Yu's arrogant words. To be honest, although Situ Minglang suffered today, no one would compare them. One is 15 years old, and the other is only 13. The key is that the 13-year-old has already mastered martial arts, and it is said that he will soon condense his chi and become a real core disciple. Ridiculous. Situ Minglang didn't take Wu Yu's words seriously at all. Even if it was spread out, it would be a joke. Wu Yu didn't say much, but confinement for a year was his goal. Wu Yu, follow me to the Siguo Peak, the confinement room. The Supreme Master actually took Wu Yu there personally. His kindness to Wu Yu really shocked countless people. From today, although Wu Yu will be confined for a year, it must be said that after today's battle, he has become a super celebrity in the entire Tongtian sword sect. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, he was standing on the huge golden sword blade, and the immortal-like master Feng Shui was beside him. /U003ch//U003e. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 19. Headmaster, I want to ask you something. Explain. Sun Wudao is like my biological father. I want to bury him and keep vigil for him. Please give me 7 days. Allow. In this way, Wu Yu returned to Yanli Peak with Su Yanli under the murderous eyes of Situ Minglang and others. Senior Sister Su. In the clouds and mist, on top of the crane, Su Yanli was blown by the strong wind, her colorful dress making a sound and flying. What's the matter? Su Yanli turned her head and looked at him. Thank you. Thousands of words are gathered in these 2 words. She reminded Wu Yu of Princess Wu, who was also someone who took good care of herself. No, you really need to fight for it, otherwise I won't be able to protect you in a year. Please note that you don't have to do it yourself to kill people in the Tongtian sword section. Situ Mingliang will not let you go. He has a great future, Su Yanli warned. I remember it, for 1 year, I understand. For Wu Yu, being able to survive today is God's blessing, let alone having a year to fight for it, so he is not afraid at all. He is confident that he will go well and brilliantly in the future. He still wants to go back to Dongyu Wu Kingdom. After returning to Yan Lifeng, Yan Lifeng's handymen already knew what happened, and they all looked at Wu Yu as if they were looking at gods. Wu Yu buried Sun Wuodao. Right at the place where Sun Wuodao once buried Wu Yu. The tombstone is engraved with, Tomb of Sun Wuodao, foster father. Although there is a big age difference, Wu Yu still regards him as his father. A completely different father from the Suchao emperor. Wu Yu knelt for 7 days and nights. I'm leaving. I'll see you again in a year. When the time comes, I will make you even prouder. After Wu Yu left, the tomb of Sun Wuodao glowed with golden light, vaguely revealing a wrinkled smiling face. A golden hair flew up from the cemetery. It didn't look like human hair, but more like the hair of an animal. Wu Yu, we will meet again. The vellus hair flew higher and higher until it was lost in the darkness. His descendants, the only ones left in this endless world, are you and me. The smiling face on the tombstone gradually disappeared, and finally turned dark. Thinking over the peak, confinement room. A solitary cell, completely enclosed, was 10 feet wide and 10 feet high, and it was impossible to even stand upright. In this confinement room all year round, people will go crazy. Wu Yu, Immortal Jindan and Su Yanli stood outside the confinement room. Headmaster Wu Yu was extremely respectful. In 1 year, if you can defeat Situ Minglang, even if you don't have the energy to condense, I will accept you as my 5th disciple of Feng Xiya, Jindan Immortal said. Wu Yu was so excited that he was stupid. When I became a disciple in advance, I never thought that I would be able to fulfill my wish today. If successful, his status in the Tongtian sword sect would be similar to that of Su Yanli. There are so many things that can be done and ways that can be cultivated. Thank you, Master. Wu Yu couldn't call Master directly before he succeeded. The 5th disciple. See you in a year. Su Yanli smiled lightly. Senior Sister Su, Wu Yu raised his head. How? I would like to ask, which disciple are you? I am ranked 4th and have the lowest qualifications, Su Yanli said. Then I, Wu Yu, will definitely become your 5th junior brother, Wu Yu said loudly. Okay. The door to the confinement room is closed. The terrible silence, the darkness. 1 year. But for Wu Yu, the hope in his heart is the biggest source of light. This year is the best opportunity for him to practice quietly. He began to practice quietly. After leaving Siguavan, Feng Xiya took Su Yanli and flew through the clouds and mist. Yanli, you are right. His fortune is better than we imagined. However, he has a good heart. I am willing to be his guide and protect him. This is the fate between me and him, Feng Shui said from the front. He is indeed a good person who values friendship and loyalty. His character, will, and talent are all qualified to be your disciple. The disciples of the Supreme Protector over the years have become stronger and stronger. Master, you must also feel the pressure, Su Yanli pondered. Dresses are flying in the clouds and mist. Feng Shui sneered, if this woman hadn't come from that place, she wouldn't be able to catch my eye. Ming Tianfeng. One day, the clouds were dancing wildly and ice covered thousands of miles. The voice of a young man roared high into the sky. Someone has successfully condensed qi. Oh my God, I've reached the sky in 1 step. Who? Needless to say, Ming Tianfeng, Situ Minglang. For a time, the Bibo Mountains were in a sensation. When Situ Minglang reached the qi condensing immortal root stage, only then did someone think of Wu Yu, who was imprisoned, and the big event that happened at Mingtian Peak. On that day, even the headmaster came forward. Everything was in Wu Yu's favor, except for his statement that he would challenge Situ Minglang in a year's time, which became a laughing stock, especially after Situ Minglang successfully condensed his energy. Wu Yu will definitely be dumbfounded when he comes out of the confinement room. Seeing the clouds rolling on Mingtian Peak, many disciples couldn't help laughing. A big shot came to Mingtian Peak. She was a gorgeous woman in a blue dress. She had shed the youthfulness of a girl, gained the charm of a beautiful woman, and had an infinite charm. Time had brought this woman the charm of a city. Beautiful. She is the Supreme Protector. Yes, the Supreme Protector is a woman and a golden elixir immortal. Situ Minglang, from today on, you are the fifth disciple. The voice of the Guardian Master swept across the Blue Mountains, announcing to the world, as if he was also challenging someone's authority. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Thank you Master, Ming Ming will not let you down. On Mingtian Peak, Situ Mingliang had been waiting for this moment for too long. Looking at the Protector Supreme on the blue sword shadow in the sky, Situ Minglang's eyes were burning. Wu Yu, your death is getting closer and closer. My master has returned and is waiting for you to leave seclusion. Concentrate your energy and reach the sky in one step. Every August 15th, Dongyu Wu State holds an ancestor worship ceremony. Wudu is still prosperous. The day when the royal family worships their ancestors is even more lively. In front of the ancestor hall, the new Suchao Emperor Yuan Hao, Queen Mother Yuan 11 and other important figures came forward one after another. Many people almost broke their heads when they saw the emperor's true appearance. Yuan Hao was wearing a dragon robe. Although he was immature, he was still presentable, with ambition and desire shining in his eyes. Queen Mother Yuan 11 is even more touching. Not far behind them was the well-known Princess Wu. If Queen Mother Yuan 11 is the second most beautiful woman in Dongyu Wu Kingdom, then Princess Wu is the first. Thousands of common people looked at these great figures who dominated the dynasty with envy and respect. Emperor Yuan Hao was offering incense and worshipping his ancestors, and the whole group was extremely solemn. Thank you to the founding emperor and all the martyrs of the past generations. Today, Yuan Hao worships his ancestors. May the glory of our country, Dongyu Wu, last for eternity. The new emperor was full of energy, and his words spread far and wide. This is Emperor Yuan Hao. He is truly heroic. Many civilians admired it. The new emperor of Eastern Wu, Wu Yuan Hao. In the corner, a man in ragged clothes smiled coldly and said, "What the hell is he called heroic? He looks like a little girl. You have never seen Prince Yu. That is heroic. In the whole country, who can compare? This Yuan Hao is not even as good as him. He is a real man." When Marshal Wu's son was in trouble in Wudu, he was killed without saying a word. How dare this Yuan Hao kill a chicken? You dare to say these things, you are treasonous. A woman next to him heard his muttering. I dare to say, what's wrong? Yuan Hao is a waste, and this queen mother who doesn't know where she came from is a bitch. The man in commoner's clothes became unscrupulous and his voice became louder. You are too courageous to mention Prince Yu. The scandal that Prince Yu did back then shocked the whole country. Immortal Haoshan appeared in person and sent him to the frontier. He did so many evil things that even the demons wouldn't let him go, so he was thrown away. Life, said a scholar with great righteousness. The clothed man laughed and said, do you know what it means to be born from the heart? Chang Yuangzi is born to be a bitch, Yuan Hao is born to be a waste, only Prince Yu, you have to see him to know him. Who is he? I am his soldier. He defeated the Nanshan Zhao state. Who can stop his power? Do that kind of thing. He was a little crazy today, talking louder and louder, disturbing many people. Although many people doubted this matter, this was a decision made by Immortal Haoshan himself. The civil and military officials of the entire court caught him red-handed. Who dares to think that someone was framing Wu Yu? Although many people think so. What's the fuss about? UN11's red lips slightly opened, a little displeased. Time has not left any trace on her body, and she is becoming more and more charming. Back to the Queen Mother, someone is making trouble, and Prince Yu is mentioned. UN11 thought of that poor guy. She smiled coldly and said, pull him down, cut him into pieces, and tell the whole country that whoever dares to mention the word Prince Yu again will kill the 9 tribes. Yes. Everyone was trembling. If they accidentally said these 3 words, it would be over. Your Majesty, today's ancestor worship is so bloody, aren't you afraid of disturbing the ancestors? Wu Yu's face was expressionless, but the sadness from 3 years ago still lingers. Oh, that's easy, first pull out Wu Du, and then divide the body into 5 pieces. UN11 lightly covered his red lips and chuckled. At this time, the Emperor Yuan Hao came forward after completing the ancestor worship. Sister Wu Yu, do you know that a heroic figure appeared among the 38 islands in the east, unified the 38 islands, and established an eastern divine kingdom on the sea? I've heard that it's just a group of thieves, Wu Yu replied. Yuan Hao smiled and said, you can't say that. Since it has established a country, it will be on an equal footing with us. Dongshen Kingdom has a navy, which is incomparable to Suqiao. If we have this navy to help us, Suqiao can continue to expand. What a coincidence. What's more, the Eastern Divine Kingdom also intends to form an alliance with us. Princess Wu said, this is a national matter and has nothing to do with me. Your Majesty does not need to say more to me. It has something to do with you, Queen Mother. UN11 smiled again. Yuan Hao said, let me put it bluntly, the new emperor of the Eastern God Kingdom, the 9 regicides, wants to take you as his wife. The marriage between the 2 countries is a strategic matter and will benefit the people of Dongguo. I think you will not refuse. The 9 regicides must be the murderous devil, the cold-blooded bandit, the guy who does all kinds of evil, Princess Wu said calmly. That's right, it is said that Zhu Regicide is a strong martial artist, at the 7th level of martial arts. There are many emperors around, but they are not that strong. Yuan Hao smiled. He thought Princess Wu had surrendered. At this time, Princess Wu smiled and said, very good, you can use my body to marry this murderous devil. She stared at Yuan Hao and said, to ally with tigers and wolves is to destroy the country. Yuan Hao, you can't be the emperor. After that, Princess Wu stood up and took her attendants with her head and didn't leave. Yuan Hao was so angry that he trembled. This bitch, can't you see the situation clearly? Yuan Hao said angrily. Don't be angry, Wu is a smart person, if you get angry, you lose. She is tough, but there are many ways to make her marry obediently, UN11 said in a delicate voice. Yes, mother, I listen to you. Red envelope, /U003CH//U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 20. Siquaveng's confinement room is completely closed, with only a few small openings for ventilation, where people can eat, drink, and defecate. It's like a prison. Being closed for a year in a narrow space where you can't even reach your fingertips is not something ordinary people can bear. The Feng Xiu cliff confinement of Wu Yu here may also be a test of his will. As a Taoist, the road ahead is dangerous, and those without great perseverance will find it difficult to achieve Taoism. For Wu Yu, Ming Tianfeng killed 5 people in a row, and his state of mind changed. After becoming an outer disciple, he truly set foot on the path of immortality, and his character was different. 1 year did not scare him, because for him, this was a great opportunity for him to concentrate on his practice without anyone disturbing him, and to reach a higher level. It is stated in the Kendo sect rules that I killed 5 people in a row and was of a bad nature, so I should be executed on the spot. No matter how tolerant you are to me, it will mean that you will give up your immortal cultivation and be expelled from the section. From this, we can see that the Supreme Leader treats me like this. How many people do I need to discuss? He was not in a hurry to practice, but in the darkness, using the light from the vent, he finished reading the 3 classics given to him when he started. Among them, Kendo sect rules and Bibo Mountains chronicles are not very detailed and can be memorized in an hour. On the other hand, Dongsheng Shenzhouji is as thick as 10 Kendo sect rules. It records a lot of information about the Dongsheng Shenzhou, including the 3000 Immortal Kingdom, all the major sects, forces, families, and there are many kinds of monsters, fairies, treasures, Taoism, elixirs, talismans and so on. After reading this book, Wu Yu's knowledge has greatly increased and his horizons have broadened. Today, he knows that the world he lives in is so vast. This vast continent is called Dongsheng Divine Continent. It is surrounded by the sea and is endless. In this Dongsheng Divine Continent, in addition to the mountains and rivers, caves, heavens and blessed lands, and many places that mortals cannot reach, there are a total of 3000 immortal kingdoms. Dongyu Wu. This country happens to be in the easternmost part of Dongsheng Divine Continent, but in terms of national power, it is considered to be at the bottom of the 3000 immortal kingdoms, less than 1% of the powerful countries. The combined territory of the 3000 immortal kingdoms is actually about 1/3 of the Dongsheng Divine Continent, and the remaining 2/3 are high mountains and dangerous areas, taboo places where mortals cannot survive. In these areas, demons are rampant, and there are many immortal sects, ancient ruins and battlefields of immortals and demons. In this way, within the Dongsheng Divine Continent, the Tongtian Sword sect is the sect that has more interactions with mortals. After all, the Bibo Mountains are within the mortal world. If you are lucky, mortals can climb over the mountains and climb here. When cultivating immortals, you should broaden your horizons. My goal should be on the entire vast Dongsheng Divine Continent. I just don't know if the Tiangong immortal domain mentioned by the inheritor is as vast as Dongsheng Divine Continent. The book The Legend of Dongsheng Shenzhou can be regarded as raising Wu Yu's spirit to a new level. However, it is important to look into the distance, it is important to broaden one's horizons, and it is even more important to be down to earth. I have only reached the 5th level of the 1st level of this Vajra indestructible body. Now I have returned to the 5th level of martial arts. The next step is to practice hard. He killed Sidu Jin and Sidu Kong. They had the 13-year-old brother Sidu Minglang. The immortal evildoer took revenge. It will definitely not be easy when Wu Yu goes out. This critical year will determine how far Wu Yu can go in the future and whether he will die instantly. Sidu Minglang, you are too young. Fighting with him always makes me look too old. It doesn't matter if you are older, it would be even more embarrassing if the other party presses you and beats you. Not only will he lose his own face, he will probably lose the face of the Supreme Headmaster as well. 1 year has broadened your horizons and calmed your mind. The Vajra indestructible body is the 6th level method of the mortal body forging realm, which is called golden crystal acupoints all over the body. After practicing it, you can break open the acupoints all over the body and use the method of Vajra to make them shine like golden stars. The body is like the vast starry sky, and the acupoints all over the body are like the stars in the sky, and like the scorching sun, burning brightly. This indestructible body became more and more shocking the further he practiced, especially the big dream about the giant pillar, which made Wu Yu deeply understand that he had a bright future, but the immortal way was cruel. If he was not extremely cautious, will die halfway and give others an advantage. After encountering a catastrophe, losing his throne and reputation, and surviving a desperate situation, Wu Yu feared that he would know more about cherishing. The path of cultivation requires perseverance in boredom. It happened to be in this confinement room that Wu Yu followed the method of golden crystal points all over the body to induce the scorching heat of the earth fire deep in the earth. It gathered from the feet to the whole body and controlled the burning of the earth fire. The orifice points are penetrated to form a golden crystal point, which is like a blazing star in the body. There are hundreds of acupuncture points all over the body, and there are many of them. The earth fire burns the inside of the body, which is more painful than ordinary flame burning. Those who do not have great perseverance in the golden crystal acupoints all over the body cannot practice at all. Those who guarded the solitary room would often hear muted screams, roaring like wild beasts in the middle of the night. These were Wu Yu burning hundreds of acupoints all over his body. Day after day, the confinement room is always flickering with firelight. Through the vents, you can see the inside of Wu Yu's body. Each acupuncture point is burning like a star. His body is like a scorching starry sky, with stars shining brightly. As more orifices were opened, the confinement room shone brighter, and even the steel of the confinement room door almost melted. After a total of 130 days, Wu Yu finally broke through the acupoints all over his body, and for the first time reached the 6th level of the mortal body training realm, breaking through the apertures. At this time, hundreds of acupuncture points all over his body were shining like the sun in the darkness. They were densely packed. Although they were small, the light was so intense that the entire steel confinement room was burned red. Especially those eyes, the golden light shining out could penetrate steel. Behind it, the word swastika became even more intense, vaguely like a trapped ape, roaring into the sky. Buzz. Clenching his fists, the dungeon shook. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. I am more and more excited to cultivate this indestructible body. In my fantasy, I even think of myself as a violent ape, breaking everything in front of me. Now my strength is far beyond the 6th level of the body forging realm. The 6th level of the body forging realm basically has the strength of 100 war horses, and I have more than 800. Generally speaking, ordinary 8th level of the body forging realm has the strength of 500 war horses. I am afraid that now, let alone the 7th level of the body forging realm, even the strong men in the 8th level of the body forging realm, the rebirth realm, are not my opponents. At this point, it is impossible for him not to be excited at this age, but when he thought of Situ Ming Lang, who was a martial arts master at the age of 13, and the Haoshan immortal of Wudu, he calmed down and knew that he still had a long way to go. The 7th level of the Vajra indestructible body is visualizing the monkey heart. The 7th level of the mortal body forging realm is the realm of concentration. Condensing the spirit, making the soul stronger, the mind and the body united, the will more determined, more precise and perfect control of the body, making the combat power stronger, is also the key to entering the Qi condensation immortal root realm in the future. Wu Yu was not ready to rest. Visualize the monkey heart, imagine a monkey. At this point, Wu Yu found that this Vajra indestructible body was indeed related to a monkey. He followed the appearance of the monkey heart described in the Vajra indestructible body, and relied on his own description and imagination to imagine what a monkey should look like in the spiritual world. The indestructible body of diamond. After achieving it, you can reach the sky and the earth, kill 8,000 celestial beings in the sky, and destroy 10,000 hells below. With a head of copper and bones of iron, and a body as valuable as 10,000 gold, no divine weapon can hurt you, and the heavenly calamity cannot destroy you. You are immortal in heaven and on earth. I am the great sage equaling heaven in the celestial palace, and the fighting Buddha in the heavenly Buddha realm. Those who are destined to meet me will inherit my mantle, go against the will of heaven, and destroy the heaven and the earth. As soon as he imagined it, these two overbearing and arrogant words penetrated into Wu Yu's spiritual world. They hit him hard, and at the same time, the image of the heart monkey gradually emerged in his mind. That peerless monkey king, wearing a phoenix wing purple gold crown, wearing a shuttle-shaped golden armor, stepping on lotus silk cloud walking shoes, holding a wishful golden hoop in his hand. he was full of passion and made a big fuss in the heavenly palace, making everything in heaven and earth surrender, and the gods and Buddhas in the heavens cried like ghosts and wolves howled. In the imagination, such a sentence appeared, plus the previous 2 paragraphs, and suddenly the heart monkey was completely formed. It was a peerless monkey king, in the raging fire, with a majestic golden crown, shining golden armor, long boots like ink, and a golden stick that reached the sky. A pair of golden eyes, seeing through everything in the world. All demons and monsters could not escape his eyes. The blood-red cloak behind him fluttered in the wind for 30,000 miles, like blood flying into the sky. Heart monkey, such a heart monkey. Wu Yuji's mind was completely suppressed by the heart monkey. As soon as he visualized it, he had a splitting headache. Obviously, his soul could not bear it at all. He needed to visualize and hone again and again before he could concentrate. Boom. Visualizing again and again, his head seemed to explode again and again. I was reborn after death. I have this good fortune. If I don't persist, it will be a waste. The Wudu thief is still at large. Wu Yu has a blood feud. If he doesn't kill him, he will regret it for the rest of his life. Therefore, the elders stationed in the confinement room began to listen to Wu Yu's screams of pain again, but they persisted. This Wu Yu is really a madman. He should practice. Why does he have to cry like a ghost? It's a good thing to fight hard, but Sidhu Minglang has already condensed his qi and ascended to heaven in one step. He may not know it yet. If he knew, he would probably be scared to death. In the blink of an eye, nearly 200 days have passed. Now, the monkey mind has been fully formed. Wu Yu can even tell the number of hairs on its body. Hard work pays off. After nearly 200 days of visualizing the monkey mind, he can finally withstand the pressure of the monkey mind. Although he cannot see or touch the monkey mind during the transformation, in Wu Yu's mind, his soul has already taken on the appearance of the monkey mind. The 7th level of the mortal body refining realm is complete. The disciples of Tongtian sword sect use the star-chasing spiritual art to condense their souls. After concentrating their minds, they have the strength of 500 war horses. After I visualize the ape mind, my soul is condensed and I can exert the strength of 1,500 war horses. Only the 9th level of ordinary martial arts can have the strength of 1,000 war horses. The 10th level of martial arts has the strength of 2,000 war horses. In other words, the gap between me and Sidhu Minglang is actually not much. Life encounters are really amazing. When I was in Wudu, my lifelong wish was to enter the 10th level of martial arts. Have the strength of 2,000 war horses. I didn't expect that after a year, I almost achieved it. 1 year of confinement passed just like that. That day, the door of the confinement room opened, and Wu Yu bathed in the sun for the first time in a year, and he actually felt as if he was in another world. /U003ch//U003e